Put my earphone back in. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 9:19 a.m. It's certainly good to see everybody or hear from everybody. What we have absent today is Mike Perry and Tina Hitchcock. I'll be able to send them information back out after this meeting. So I did send everyone an agenda for today's meeting, as well as the minutes from last meeting. Are there any questions about today's agenda?
Yeah, I want to say something before we get started, Jim.
Go ahead, Klug.
I know there was an email that came from Larry Harvey, the county commissioner. It was my understanding from Terry Turner when we first got involved with this committee that no county commissioner or the county manager will not be involved in this committee anyway, make recommendations to this committee at all. Now we have a commissioner that's making recommendations to this committee and we're responding back to him. So I don't agree with that, you know, and that makes me lose respect for a county commissioner when they're not supposed to have any input in this committee. It's supposed to be this committee as a whole that comes back and makes the recommendations, you know, to the county commission as a whole. So okay. I want to make sure that gets on record.
All right. So anybody else want to respond to Klug before I pipe in? Hearing none. I know we've had other county commissioners address this committee. I don't recall that. I'm sure that if you remember it, it was there. Again, I'm passing on his recommendation to this committee. I just want you to know that I did respond back to him to let him know that much of what he's asking or recommending is already included. So I do believe that we did have other commissioners. Is that correct? Does everybody recall that? Didn't we have another commissioner come up with public comment?
Hey, Jim, Wayne here. Jeff Rawls spoke to us, but I don't believe, and I'd have to go back and check my notes, I don't believe Jeff gave us any guidance other than he wanted us to come up with our best thought process.
Right, there you go.
That's my memory.
All right,
that's
so,
correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that's on record. So I'm providing that information. You could do it as you may with it. I certainly understand, Klug, your comments, and they're certainly noted for the record. Okay, back on the agenda. Any questions about the agenda? I did add an item for the next meeting. I do believe, writing this report, that we're not going to be able to accomplish this today and that we're going to need another day to come back and bring our thoughts after reviewing this document today and be able to finish it up. And I recommend that we meet on Monday at 9 a.m. via Zoom. It shouldn't take long. The report should be in its final shape. I would look to this group after today's meeting. I'll send back out the changes to this report, have you review it, and at the meeting, let's go over our last remarks so we can be prepared for Tuesday's meeting. So that's what I have in the agenda. Is everybody acceptable with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So,
You're saying,
I'm sorry, Chad, go ahead.
I'll be unavailable Monday, but that's fine. I can send you my comments if I have.
Okay. John, did you say something?
I was just clarifying, it's this coming Monday, the 27th?
That's correct.
Good enough.
Jim, do you think Wayne, do you think it'd be about an hour or so? Or what's your
I think so, Wayne. I really don't think it's going to be long. I don't.
Okay, that's cool with me. I'll make some adjustments. I'll be there.
Thank you.
Monday's good for me.
Okay, great. All right, so moving down the agenda, you do have the minutes from the last meeting. If everyone has had an opportunity to review them, I would entertain someone to make a motion.
Motion.
Motion from Klug.
Second.
Okay, and who was second?
Chad.
Thank you, Chad. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. I hear no opposition. Okay, that takes care of that. I did receive an email from John Chapman last week. Hey, John, do you want to communicate to the group concerning your response to a logistical space?
Sure. I went over and I spoke to Chief Lanier about the existing building over at the EOC, and it's pretty much maxed out. There's not a lot of space over there. And I believe it was Tina who told me the medical supplies are being held at the old highway patrol station, and it also is pretty full. I did talk to Chief Romay, and Chief backed me up on this, but unless I'm getting old and senile, I remember you said if we can swing this, you'll find a space. Is that correct?
That's correct. We've got another warehouse. I mean, we can certainly move things around and get it ready, but I'm not concerned about space.
Thank you, Chief.
So what I'm hearing pretty much is we've got a lot of stuff already stored at EOC. Medical, of course, has got to stay air conditioned, so it's probably going to stay where it's at. But if we got the additional space, I think most of the volunteer chiefs are online with this.
Okay.
I thought that under the logistics, we're bringing everything under one building. And for me, that would include, medications, bunker gear, uniforms, supplies, station supplies, and all that. I mean, if we can find a building, and I think, Quinn said it, I mean, the space is probably not a problem, is that we can get somewhere, that's air conditioner, to keep all them supplies together. That way we're not having the same problem we have now where they're in 4 or 5 different locations.
All right. Anybody want to respond to Clue?
Chad here.
Go ahead, Chad.
I agree with Clue. I worked on that project for quite a while, and it's too fragmented. It all needs to be under one roof. Correct.
And so, I guess there could be a time too that we have alternative spacing. If we run out of somewhere else, that would certainly be left up to staff to identify additional storage that falls under that logistics person. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and also, Jim, I mean, we can go to, the surrounding counties like St. John's, Duval, Alachua, and Clay to see, how they do their logistics under one operations, and that might give us an idea, of how these other counties, fire rescue services, keep all their medications and drugs and supplies and, and uniforms and bunker gears in one area.
Okay.
You'll definitely need more than one person though doing logistics, because one person, even a 40-hour week, is not going to be able to handle the fire EMS needs. It's going to be impossible.
And I think you're right, Joe. And I think once it gets up and going, I think everybody's going to notice that, and you're probably going to need, a couple of people, to do that, especially to deliver supplies to the stations, and that's something that can happen later on too. That can, with once we get the operations going on. But yeah, you're going to need more than one person later on. I guarantee you.
Probably will. I mean, but look at what we have right now, Clue. We have what? We have, it's scattered everywhere. So this certainly, our recommendations, we'll bring it in. Joe, that's a great comment that you made.
Gary here.
Hey, Gary.
Okay, Jim and Clue over. Just my opinion on it. Everything should be under one roof, except I would look into the drugs, the narcs and stuff. They need to be a tight control on those. That maybe have to be a different issue.
That's already separate. I take care of all the narcotics out of this office.
Cool. All right, cool.
So that's already a separate issue.
I just want to make sure that we understood that should be a separate issue.
Yes, sir.
I just want to point out, I hope we don't get bogged down on not moving forward because we don't have a single location at the moment. Even if we were down to 3 locations, it would be a vast improvement over what we got now.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Hearing what the chief's comments are and from everyone else, we'll certainly make that happen. And it'll be the responsibility of that person also to make recommendations as to what they see as they move forward. All right. So, hey, Jacob, I just emailed you that report. Can you, we're almost ready for it. Clue, I wanted to talk to you if I could. I got your email about the consolidation of some extra. You didn't see the fire marshal, fire inspector pay within the org chart. The reason I didn't do that is that they are existing field full-time equivalent positions, and they're already in the budget. This is proposed new funding, not to include the current funding that's already there.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Good deal. All right. So let's talk about the draft report. Jacob, can you introduce it to us, please? For those that, let me just do this. Let me send this to everybody in addition to what I'm going to work here with. Give me 1 second. We can all see it. Let me work here on this. Forgive my delay. Almost there.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, let me find it here again. Desktop. Fire EMS. Nope, wrong thing. Let me just send it to you. It may be easier for you to look at from where you are rather than this. And for the folks that are on the phone, if you have access to email, maybe this will help. If not, we'll read through the section so you can hear what we're discussing. And again, this is all draft language. Everything is open to be changed or manipulated as we see fit. And it's coming to you all. So let's start. Hey, Jacob, can we make that to where it's 1 page rather than seeing 2 pages? Didn't you say? Okay. Okay, that's fine. If everybody's okay, just the split screen is just what we're going to have. Does everybody, should I say, did everybody see the same split screen I am? To where you have on
Yes.
one side and the other. So in this view, some of the formatting is going to be missing, and it's actually pushing it to the next page. Hey, Jacob, let's just try to see it for a second. If you'll take it out of the view and go into the edit version. There we go. So this is the cover. And again, this is certainly open for anyone's interpretation or recommendation. I just started out, again, taking what we discussed as a committee at our last meeting and really through our meetings collectively and came up with this. So we are the Putnam County Fire EMS Committee. I just chose the Putnam County logo, but if we want to put the EMS logo next to it, you just have to say what you'd like to see. This is our final report titled Repairing a Broken System, a presentation of critical fire EMS observations, recommendations, and suggestions to the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners. And the date of the report will be July 28th, 2020. So this will be our cover sheet. Your thoughts?
Hey, Jim.
Go ahead, Lou.
And hopefully, Chief Romeo would agree, and everybody else would agree. I think besides the county logo, that we can put the EMS logo and a logo from the union. And if the volunteers have a logo, they can do that. That way, everybody's in unison with this report, and everybody's in agreement with this report to send that to the commissioners. So, that would be my recommendation.
I second that. This is Wayne. I second his recommendation.
Hey, is anybody opposed to changing it to fire rescue rather than fire EMS? Didn't we have a branding change to fire rescue?
Yeah, I would agree to that, Nat.
Okay, but this committee has been the fire EMS committee since the beginning. That's our what we've been in the newspaper. We may change the terminology in the report, but do you want to change it here?
That's fine if that's what we're known as. But if it could be changed on that letterhead, we're technically a fire service. So
you tell me. It's about our committee is who we are, and then our report. This is your committee. You tell me what you want.
Well, I thought we did a name change to fire rescue, to get away from the single EMS side. I mean, Chief can, maybe put some stuff in there, but that's what I thought. We went to a fire rescue instead of a fire and EMS.
Jim,
Chief?
That's correct. They're all correct, and I have no issue with what they're suggesting.
All right, so put fire rescue committee.
Yep.
And would there be a hyphen between that or a slash?
Yes.
So just like we had before, just minus the EMS.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. I'll make sure that
and I just want everybody to know we're not forgetting EMS, because EMS is a big part of our service, and we probably run the majority of calls in EMS. But if we're moving to a fire rescue system, rescue is an ambulance. It is considered EMS. So I just don't want nobody to forget that. All
right. So it's going to be changed to Putnam County Fire Rescue Committee. Got it. We're going to insert the EMS logo in addition to the Putnam County logo, the union logo, and then the logos from the volunteer fire departments. If I could get those from Clue, if you could email me yours. And then for those, do you recommend the logos for those volunteer fire departments of those on the committee, or do we put all 18? Do they each have their own logo?
You would have to ask them if they have one, logo that represents the whole organization, I guess.
Okay. Can some, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks good. Can somebody help me with that?
The bottom, not a back. You need forward slash bottom, not a backslash. Presentation of critical fire rescue, you've got a backslash, not a forward slash.
Oh, yeah. We're not there yet. Good catch. So can someone help me? No, Jacob, I think it's the other way around. And then go down to that one there. There you go. Can someone help me reaching out to the volunteers that are on this committee? Can you help identify if there's any logos that we could use? Can I get a volunteer?
Gary, do you have a logo for the fire committee?
Let me log on.
John, we don't have a per se logo that represents all 18 stations. I can do a little bit of quick research with them and give me a day or so, and I'll see if we'll come up with one standard that they like.
All right, Gary, can I task you with that?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Thanks,
yes,
Gary.
Gary, the association doesn't have a logo on their letterhead?
No, we're just using the multi-cross sign, the standard sign, United States wide.
Okay.
Jim, Chad.
Go ahead, Chad.
It won't let me
I was just going to say that maybe put a deadline on the logos if you don't tell them by a certain time.
Hang on one second. David, are you having problems?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I know, we just keep hearing you. Do you need help?
I got him. We're good.
Okay. Sorry, Chad.
I'm just suggesting that you put a timeline on receiving the logos, so this doesn't hold up the report. You know, if you need them by Monday, whatever you have by Monday is what we go.
Yeah, so great call. Hey, Gary, can I get everything by Friday of this week?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good call, Chad. All right. Let's see. Let's make some changes. So I did change a presentation of critical fire. Everybody's good then now with the cover sheet? I seem to see head shaking and thumbs up. Okay. Moving on to our table of contents. Go ahead.
Sorry. If you go back down, that bottom, what you just said, a presentation of critical fire rescue, it got changed to committee rather than observations. Should that say observations there?
I'm Jacob. Hey, I got it. If you, I can take care of it on my end.
Gotcha.
Thanks. So I've got it, Nat. Okay. Let's move on to table of contents. So all I did is broke out the report that we've identified. We'll certainly put page numbers, assigned to mission statement committee members, so on and so forth. So those will be each of the primary areas. And then under recommendations for immediate implementation and funding, you'll see these subsections, which really is the meat and potatoes of the report. Our conclusions, and then finally the appendix at the end. And the appendix so far is NFPA 1720.
Hey,
all right,
Jim.
Go ahead.
Under the standing EMS fire committee, you'll change that to where it says fire rescue committee?
Yes, sir. I'm going to change that in the entire report. So if you see it here, I'll do a find and replace, but yes, fire rescue committee. Got it. Yeah, I'll make sure I take care of that. Good catch. All right, let's go to the third page, which is mission statement. So I just put something down. I'm looking for your input on this. Again, I gleaned from what we discussed at the last meeting. And so I'll read it. The mission of the Putnam County Fire Rescue Committee has been to carry out the charge and direction provided by the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners, in parentheses BOCC, at their February 25, 2020 workshop to identify the issues associated with fire rescue services in Putnam County and return with recommendations. Our committee has been open, honest, and sincere with our deliberations and have pledged to allow citizen comment at each of our meetings. So this was just more of what our mission statement was. And please help me make changes to this that you all see appropriate.
Well, hey, I wasn't here last week, so I guess I need to email you something for my biography there.
Yeah, that's coming in a couple minutes. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'll email you that today.
Thanks. So from a mission statement, I know there'll be some massaging done on this yet, but your thoughts of where we are?
I think it sounds good. You don't want a mission statement to be bulky and whatever. That's the purpose of the report. We're following the directions we were given.
Okay.
I'll agree with that.
Good. All right. So when you all get this report today, please look at it and make the changes that you think need to be made grammatically, structurally, and then I'll get them back from you. And then on Monday, we will go over the report one more time. All right. So if we're good with our mission statement, going on to committee members. So I have Wayne and Clue and John and Gary and David and Quinn all all need to provide me something that you would like put in this document.
Hey, Jim, this is Wayne. There's something wrong with our my email extension to the county. I'm not been able to send documents. As soon as that gets fixed, I'll send it to you.
Got you. All right, no problem. All right. And again, if you want to update what you have there in the report, please let me know, and I'll be glad to. I had to make a couple of changes just to spell out station. I didn't want to abbreviate some things in here. So let me know about your thoughts on that.
Send you something this evening, but it'd be short and sweet.
I got you, David. All right. So moving on to the executive summary. If everybody's okay with how this layout will look, I figured we'd give everybody just a paragraph or whatever it takes to identify yourself. So our executive summary, it's nearly a full page, probably a page and a little bit. I'll start out the first paragraph. After being formed as an at-large group of members representing, and let me change this while I'm reading, the fire rescue service, both as paid staff, volunteers, and retirees, as well as members of Putnam County government and representatives of the community, this 15-person committee with over, I need to insert, after I get everybody's years of experience, I would really like to show our years of experience in public safety. And I think that sends a very strong message, not only to the elected officials, but people reading this report to see our combined experience in this, because I was pretty impressed, as I have been, with looking at the years of experience so far for our staff. So I'll add that, and that we have met 8 times since March 2020, and the 8th time would be included for the meeting on Monday the 27th. Our first meeting was March 2nd, 2020. I said, continuing the first paragraph, after being sidelined by the COVID-19 pandemic for several weeks, the committee was able to restart meetings in late June and concluded our mission to identify needs, make recommendations to help bring, to identify needs and make recommendations to help bring this public safety service to a level needed to serve the Putnam County community. So that's your first paragraph. Thoughts on that?
Hey, Jim, maybe there it goes. I couldn't see the pages.
Okay. Okay, sorry, but there it is. And I did change fire EMS to fire rescue. It's going to take a while before I get all of them in the report, but I definitely am going to have that done for you. Everybody good with that?
I like it.
Okay.
Good.
Again, as we go through this, get it tonight, tear it apart, put your heart into it, send it back to me, and we'll certainly include the changes as long as the committee agrees. Next paragraph. As we do not know what the future will hold, especially during the throes of battling COVID-19, this department must be ready to respond now and in the future to all forms of hazards. However, it's abundantly clear that this department is lacking structure, depth, funding, resources, accountability, and follow through to allow it to be the service needed to fulfill the needs of the community. We firmly believe our findings will help stabilize this department and begin the process of development and growth that would be part of the backbone for a new department, one that would also be attractive to development and infrastructure that would want to locate to Putnam County. Now, again, this is not, and you're going to see it later in this report, if it wasn't for the paid staff, the volunteers, the staff overall, everybody that helps, this department wouldn't be the department it is today. But we all know that we've got some holes that we have to fill. And I'm just looking to your thoughts on this paragraph. Hey, no, I know you're there with us, John. Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm actually printing out the link. I didn't realize I had it already, so I'm printing it out so I can look at it.
All right. Hey, John Allender, are you able to see this also on your camera?
Yeah, I'm reading through it now.
Okay.
I think it sounds good on initial read. It states exactly what we're trying to address.
Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Chad, I agree as well. I think it looks good.
Okay. All right. So, I'm sorry, somebody else.
One typo at the bottom, a new department.
For a new and a new department. For a new department. Gotcha. Thank you. All right. Next paragraph. Furthermore, it is our belief that with the creation and adoption of a new organizational structure and the staff required to adequately fill the critical needs we have identified, we will remedy the majority of our issues. In all, the committee is recommending approximately, I don't know what that number is going to be until I get from the chief, which they're putting together now, the budget figures for stations, station maintenance, those things that we discussed. So you'll just see it as a highlighted, whatever it may be, in new funding to pay for new positions, stations, equipment, and miscellaneous uses. It is important to note that a one-time fix will not keep this department from quickly falling into disrepair once again. The BOCC must maintain and continue to upgrade this department as the community grows. This is why we are unanimously supporting the BOCC to create a standing, let me just fix this, a standing fire rescue committee, one where members are appointed by elected officials and are tasked with not only monitoring our recommendations, but to evaluate, it needs to be an E, the needs and issues surrounding this department, as well as to make recommendations to the BOCC on at least a quarterly basis. We feel our findings in this report, coupled with the Standing Fire Rescue Committee, will eliminate the need for the BOCC to hire a private consultant to evaluate the needs of the department at this time. It's a long paragraph. Thoughts?
Need to go back and adjust quarter to quarterly.
Thank you, ma'am. Good catch.
Hey, Jim, I got a question. It's just a legitimate question. I'm not making a recommendation, but I kind of thought that, and maybe I'm being semantics here, that we wanted an oversight committee. See, a standing fire EMS committee to me kind of says to me as a citizen that that's a committee that's going to come up with stuff associated with fire EMS on a working platform, but an oversight committee is going to oversee all the different avenues of recommendation. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too technical here.
Okay, committee thoughts?
I would agree with Wayne on that, and I would also like to make something that, you have, I wouldn't say it maybe the whole committee as a whole, but maybe 5 people within this committee, continue to be the oversight committee to make sure that this, our recommendations are being heard and not just going by the wayside, and that way you can have somebody from the citizens, somebody from the fire rescue side, somebody from the union side, all making input, and making sure that this recommendation, that the board doesn't forget, what they're doing and say, hey, this needs to be happening, not be laying down by the wayside.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Jim, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim. Then I want to comment on what Clue said.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Okay. So, again, from a citizen's point of view, I'm a 70-year-old guy that's been around the block a couple of times. I think to me, this is critical part of whatever we recommend. And I've just seen it over my years where and I know I'm repeating myself what I've said in other meetings, where recommendations have been made and it's not the newest, hottest thing, and it gets put on a shelf and forgot about. And I can't emphasize enough, to me, this is the most important part of the work of what we're doing, that some group has got to oversee these recommendations so the commissioners don't forget what we think needs to be done. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be quiet after that.
No, great comments. Anybody else? All right. Hearing none. So where we have here, this is why we are unanimously supporting the BOCC to create a standing fire EMS committee. I'm sorry, fire rescue committee. So how do you want to, in our suggestion, do you just want to have them, give them the, you want to spell out how we think the committee should be selected? And, you know, because again, we can't just look at today. You have to look at, as people rotate off the committee or leave, you know, how you give that board the opportunity. They have to replace, they have their own standing way of nominating from the various districts, people to their committees.
Yeah. So
why don't we?
Go ahead.
Who was that, David? Go ahead, David.
No, this is Wayne. I'm thinking, Jim, a big part of this, it will be when you present this to them, that I see you emphasizing how strongly we feel about that. You're right. They're going to eventually name who they want to be on this oversight committee. But I think in your presentation, there's a lot of words here, but if you emphasize this verbally with them, it may make an impact.
Okay. When you speak of oversight, though, Wayne, I need to put that somewhere. So we have evaluate the needs and issues, monitoring our recommendations. Would you want to change that to with providing oversight to our recommendations?
No, actually, back down there where it says, see, this is why we unanimously support the BOCC creating a standing oversight fire EMS committee, or whatever the proper word. I got you. Okay, that's where I'd put it.
Okay, I got it.
Hey,
everybody,
Jim,
go ahead, Clue.
Why don't we recommend to the board that we keep this committee for 3 years? If anybody leaves, you know, then we can replace the people who does that, or just replace it every 3 years. You know how you want to do that. You go, this committee has done a lot of work, a lot of research, and you can have this committee for 3 years, and then, you know, you can change them, or when somebody leaves, to replace that person, you know, at the request of the board, the union, or Quinn, you know, whoever appoints, you know, the people to be, you know, to replace a citizen or a union member or administration person.
Okay. Clue's comments are out there. Committee thoughts?
Yeah, this is Gary. Can you hear me?
I can, Gary.
Okay, yes. The only thing on it I would like to, let's get the point so everybody doesn't lose track of what we started here, was the volunteer organization that supported this county for a lot of years. I keep hearing union and career. We're kind of letting the volunteer go by. I realize the workforce is getting a little bit low on the volunteer side, and we've got to move forward with this, but I'd kind of appreciate it if we could keep the volunteer association involved with this. So when we're putting these names out there, you know, let's associate the guys that took care of the county for all these years and put them in there with that part of it, please.
Absolutely. Message well received.
And that is true, Gary. You're 100% right.
All right, so
Jim,
who's up next? Quinn?
Yeah, it's Quinn.
Okay.
Just to kind of add on to what I think Wayne's leading to, and Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong, but the oversight is not necessarily the day-to-day operations. What it is the recommendations on how to make improvements to the service to the citizens, and not only currently, but also in the future. Is that correct?
You're right on target, Clint.
Okay. So we do have a suggestion by by Clue to make this into a standing 3-year committee. What do we want to do?
I'm of the mindset that, I don't mind staying on and having this continue, and depending on what everybody else feels, I feel like this is a good start. in response to what Gary just said about the volunteer side, we have, himself and also Mr. Chapman, who you're the head honcho of the Volunteer Association, correct, Gary? John Chapman?
No, actually, Gary's president of the Association of Volunteers.
Okay, so with that being said, we have that representation on their side. We have the union representation. We have management's representation, as well as the citizens, just with the board that we serve right now. Rather than modifying what we have, if we could just get commitments to, obviously wouldn't have to meet nearly as often as we do, but if we could get commitments from the people that are here, those that would appreciate staying on or want to stay on, why wouldn't we just run this just like it is for, like Clue suggested, a 3-year term or whatnot? I'm all right with that on my side.
Jim, Chad.
Go ahead, Chad.
I think we're at the mercy of the BOCC. We were appointed by them, and our future depends on what decisions they make on how the committee moves.
I agree. If I could, maybe to make an addition based on what I'm hearing. So the board would appoint an individual from their respective district, and then, appoint volunteers, and to include, if the public safety director's position is going to be included, add the public safety director as the subject matter expert and facilitator. Your thoughts on that? Or do we want to go to keep it like it is? I'm just concerned that the board is going to want to keep similar practices as to the appointment of boards or committees.
Jim, I'm with I think like Lou said, I would recommend to the board that we retain the committee that we have now, and then they can reappoint, or the committee can reappoint as is necessary, as Lou stated earlier. That way we're familiar with the outlay and everything, and we put a lot of work into it. I think we're all on the same page as far as trying to move the service forward.
All right, so I hear from Clue and Gary and from Nat. So what's the position of the committee to move forward with this?
Jim, this is Richard. I just think we ought to make it a point to let the board know that this is the immediate fixes, and there's still that this committee needs to continue to work on to better the service. But this is an immediate fix. So we're asking the board of directors to appoint this committee or continue this committee in the future, the standing committee.
Okay, so I'm going to change this if that's the desire of the committee. This is why we are unanimously, we are supporting. We don't have a unanimous vote because not everybody's here. So do you want me to just put here, this is why we are supporting the BOCC to, what's the word I'm looking for, to appoint this standing committee to serve?
No.
Maybe retain.
Okay, to retain the standing committee to serve to evaluate the needs and issues surrounding this department, as well as to make recommendations to the BOCC on at least a quarterly basis. So I'll read that again. This is why we are supporting the BOCC to retain this standing committee to evaluate the needs and issues surrounding this department, as well as to make recommendations to the BOCC on at least a quarterly basis. We feel our findings in this report, coupled with the standing fire rescue, in this report, with the fire rescue committee, will eliminate the need for the BOCC to hire a private consultant to evaluate the needs of the department at this time. Is that what y'all are looking for?
Jim, I would say current and future service needs or delivery needs to the citizen. Something like how do we make this service better to be able to respond to all the calls and so forth and so on. So something about delivery to service to the citizen.
I got you. Okay. I added in there. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jim. Is Mike the only one that's not here today?
Mike Perry's not here.
Tina.
And Tina's not here.
And Tina. Is there any way we could do a poll on them? Because, boy, it carries a lot more weight if we say unanimously support.
All right. I'll just put a comment in here, and at the next meeting, we'll have everybody's input by then.
Jim, Chad.
Go ahead, Chad.
On that last sentence, I know we voted on that, but I would just like to be sure we don't tie the board's hands in case they wanted to use a, outsource a recommendation for funding, not get into the operations, but if they needed to, hire a consultant to figure out how to fund this and how to write that funding mechanism, I wouldn't want to tie their hands with that last sentence. Just a thought. The panel might want it to stand like it is. I just wanted to bring it up.
I can add a sentence, hiring a consultant for funding consideration.
How's everyone else feel about that?
Jim, is Quinn. I agree with Chad because we want to make sure that all of the potential funding sources are explored, and it may be, an outside source that's needed to do that.
Okay.
All the possibilities.
All right, so I'll add this sentence, hiring a consultant for funding considerations is supported by this committee. Is that good, Chad? Roger that.
Yes, sir.
All right.
As long as everyone else agrees with it.
Well, absolutely. I see thumbs up and I see head shaking, so we're good?
I agree.
All right, so let's move on to, can you go up a little bit more, Jacob? I want to start with the observations. Keep going up a little bit more. No. Keep going. No, you're the wrong way, Jacob. I'm sorry. It's the other way. Right there. There you go. So the next paragraph is the observations and recommendations contained in this report are clearly defined and presented in a manner that demonstrates the need while presenting a reasonable cost if applicable. Understanding the budget constraints of the BOCC, the committee decided to focus on the issues and recommendations and not attempt to identify and recommend many alternative funding sources for the BOCC to consider. Thoughts about that paragraph?
Yeah, and I just want to say, and I've just pulled out my old notes here while I was reading that ahead of time. That was actually the charge from the commission, was for us not to worry about the funding, but what you just said, Jim. So it's very well worded in my opinion.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. All right. Moving on, next sentence. Since the time is of the essence and the need to take action is now, the committee would like to thank the BOCC for their commitment, direction, and urgency shown for this critically important public safety fact-finding mission.
Sounds good.
Okay. So this next paragraph is highlighted. It is because I took it from somewhere else and I just stuck it here. I don't know if it's really going to work, but I'll read it. The committee is fully aware that committees like ours have been formed in the past to address similar issues, and their findings appear to have resulted in little to no action to resolve the issues that have only grown in size and complexity today. Our committee has gone into this process with a mindset of identifying the issues and offering realistic solutions that are honest and easily obtainable. Our recommendation is,
I would just take out I. I would just take out the letter I.
Our recommendation for this issue, our recommendation is for this issue to no longer be kicked down the road. We must bring relief to a broken organization that is at best struggling to provide critical health and life safety service on a 24/7 basis to this community. without immediate change today, inadequate funding and support in the future. I think I have to massage that a little bit, but your thoughts as far as what's there?
Hey, Jen, this is John. Yeah, it's got to be tweaked a little bit. I think that's awesome. We really need to remind them that this has happened before and it can't happen again in the future.
Okay.
Hey, and to that point, Jim, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead, Wayne.
So, to me, and I don't know who that was. Was that John that was saying that?
John Chapman, yes, sir.
Okay, good point, John. I think, okay, maybe I'm getting too wordsmithy here, but I'm thinking if I had a paragraph that should be highlighted, bolded, or something, it'd be that paragraph.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
No, I like it. It stands out. All right. Done. Easy stuff. All right. And I just moved the paragraphs around, and I left the thank you to the BOCC at the end of that section, if that's okay with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So if you look at the way this report's laid out, we're now coming into our what I'd call the meat and potatoes of this report.
Hey, Jim.
Yes, sir, Quinn.
Hey, at the last sentence of that highlighted one, or that last part of the paragraph.
Yes, sir.
Maybe something about immediately implementing these recommendations or working on these without taking our recommendations and doing something with them immediately. I know that's kind of the gist of what you're saying, but all of the recommendations and all of the things that have been brought out here are not pie in the sky kind of things. I think it's very realistic and has already been talked about over the years. It's just a matter of getting them to, take the immediate fix and then look on the future. Does that make sense? Wayne,
yeah, I'm putting some notes here, Quinn, and so that'll help me better craft that paragraph. That's right.
Yeah, this is Nat.
Go ahead, Nat.
And it may be a null point. I really don't know. Would this be the paragraph to include the wordage where the Board of County Commissioners is directly responsible for providing this coverage? I mean, you mentioned how the service has been struggling to do all that, but would this be a point where we should highlight to them that, it is their responsibility to make sure that the citizens have fire and rescue services?
I say it later. I say it later in the document, Nat, but we can do what you want. Sure. Go ahead, Wayne.
Hey, Nat. Let Nat, even though I'm the one that says this needs to be bolded and whatever, I think that's a little bit too much in your face. That's just my opinion. I think the commissioners know that, and I think the way he says that letter, I'm giving my 2 cents, which I may be wrong. I'm just saying that we don't want to be a little bit too much in your face. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
No, but I get your point, Nat. I just think the way he said it later on is good. But again, that's just one person's opinion.
Okay.
And this is Nick.
Go ahead, Nikki.
And simply just by placing a period after community so that it says without immediate change today and adequate funding and support in the future, that kind of throws that out there too. This is an immediate change that needs to be done.
I got you. And then I'll add Quinn's comments there. I got you. Okay.
Chad.
Go ahead, Chad.
Just something for your toolbox as you're massaging this. Keep in mind multiple task force reports have been recommending the same things, as well as budget requests and state statute back up all this as well.
Okay. I'll add that to my notes. Got it. Okay. So getting into recommendations for immediate implementation and funding, our first tab is accountability and culture. I think I need to talk more, but I'll let you all decide about morale, consistency, and communications. So I'll start with the first paragraph. It has been abundantly clear to all on the committee that accountability and culture in this department has not been supported and has been broken for years and is on the verge of failure. The committee had many heartfelt discussions and determined the root cause of what we found was related to a lack of organizational structure, consistency, funding, leadership, and vacancies at many levels. The current structure is only working due to the professionalism and dedication of the paid and volunteer staff, but this cannot be expected to operate much longer without drastically increasing the potential of suffering catastrophic failures in service, as well as the continued decline in morale and loss of well-trained staff to other agencies.
So very well said, Jim. Very well said.
Yes, and I agree.
Perfect.
Okay. Nikki, I got your thumbs up. And Chief, this is not to say, and you know, I think everyone on this committee would say that you have certainly been the one that's been asking for and patching things up. I mean, when you lose 2 battalion chiefs, you've got people in acting positions. We're still struggling to find staff. I think you've done, you know, what's needed to be done to keep this organization afloat. But in no way, shape, or form do I believe that this paragraph is directed at any one person other than to the situation.
No, I don't either, and I'm ecstatic. I'm, you know, I really see an avenue for where the board can't just say no and, you know, and or not funded or do whatever. So like everybody said, I've served on most of the committees over the years, and all the way back when I was just, you know, a regular new volunteer, and some of the original committees, I know Chad and Jeff and Joe and all them were around too. So it's not I don't take that in any way as a slight. I mean,
good. Because it's not meant for that. Absolutely.
No,
and I don't think it was meant before him, Quinn, and Quinn. I mean, I think Quinn can only go in there and ask for help so much times. I mean, he's got to report to the county manager. The county manager got to report to the board of county commissioners, you know, and the board's got to fund these positions. So when you go in there and asking for these positions year after year after year, or these positions are not being filled, I don't think that's his fault. That comes higher than him. That's just like in a war situation. You know, when the generals say, hey, we need this, this, and this, we can't function in a wartime situation without the qualified people and the means to do that. The same thing with the fire rescue service. You know, we can't, and the volunteer fire service, we can't operate that without, you know, these positions, you know, without the rank structure. And I think Quinn has asked for that, but I think he hasn't been given that. So I want to leave that there.
All right. Anybody else? All right, hearing none, go to the next paragraph and I'll read it. The committee carefully identified hotspots in the department and determined a new organizational chart was needed to specifically provide a backbone or unified direction and ability for command staff to carry out their duties and responsibilities while providing a clear direction to line staff and volunteers. It also, I should say brings rather than brought, also brings all 18 volunteer fire departments under the control and responsibility of the Putnam County Fire Chief. This also to include recommending the immediate implementation of the Fire Incident Response Manual firm for all to operate from on a daily basis. Thoughts on that paragraph?
Hey, just a question for clarity for an outside person here. For all to operate, are you talking about all fire stations, all volunteers, everybody?
Got you. All right, so I want to put all full-time and volunteer.
Okay.
That's Jim, Gary.
Go ahead, Gary.
Hey, also on the firm document, putting a question out there to the other guys that's on the board, because I know Richard and them done a lot of work on this and other guys. We're still going to maintain that each station has one representation for the future working of the firm.
That's my understanding of it. That was always the original plan of the committee. As everybody signed on, they would have one vote and working on that document that Chad worked on so hard to make the footprint of. And I know we've talked about having more committee meetings with COVID. I don't think the platform is Zoom for working on the firm document, but I believe that's.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. I just want to make sure that we did carry on in that tradition, and then once we can get back on board, we're fine. So as long as that doesn't change, we'll be great.
Okay. All right. Next paragraph. The committee welcomed the news of the creation of a public safety director, one that can provide leadership and oversight to the fire chief. The public safety director position was not included in our recommendation. Good with that?
Jim, I wasn't here last committee meeting, so was that brought up by the committee, or how was that brought up?
No, the BOCC actually approved, or the administration, it was in the budget, and so they have approved, I shouldn't say the BOCC has, it's been approved to create a public safety director, a new position, which I guess is an old position to fill once again.
Yeah, I knew it was an old position at one time, so we'll have a public safety director. So is the way I'm understanding this, you'll have a fire chief underneath him, and then in an organization chart, you'll have a deputy chief operations chief. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're recommending that at least I believe that the public safety director would be the overarching umbrella above our organizational chart that we're going to get to in a second.
But wouldn't that be the responsibility of the fire chief, the overall organizational, the leadership in the fire department?
Of the fire department, sure, absolutely. But the public safety director would be the ultimate or the last stop in the hierarchy of the chain of command.
What was the committee's recommendation, or what did they have thoughts on that? You know, talked about last committee. I mean, because I wasn't here, I didn't hear everybody's thoughts on
that. If I may, for the committee, it was that this position is being filled, and it's something that we're going to have to contend with. And so we looked at it as being, if I may, just again, a level of guidance, leadership, and support above the fire chief, looking at his or her other responsibilities in addition to managing all the components under the fire chief.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, let me jump in here. This is Wayne. I think I know where you're coming from a little bit, and we did express at the last meeting with the creation or the emphasis on this new position that it doesn't forestall this committee's work, and this isn't handed off to this new position for him to study and go through. That this was started by the BOC, and we continue on, and it doesn't give us an avenue to waylay our recommendations.
So do we want to add something that we're not recommending to the BOCC, that this report be provided to the public safety director rather than the BOCC take action now? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I think you kind of say that, Jim, through it.
Okay.
I think you've said it well. I just think I was just trying to go back to his point about.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That was it. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Jim, while we got the platform here a little bit, and we're on this page, and it's just a minor thing, but can you make this org chart bigger when you present it to them, and just a little bit bigger to fill up the page the rest of the way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. I've got a note.
Wayne, training to see that thing.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was just, I thought it was the old man's eyes here. For
no, well, it is. I will probably just have to create a new org chart, but that's fine. That's an easy thing to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim, one more question on that subject. Is that something they just created in the budget this year to approve that position?
Clue, I think it was in the budget already. It was a position that was not filled. So I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead.
Wayne.
So Clue, it's my understanding that I may be wrong. It's my understanding that the county administrator has kind of been looking at a organizational change at his direct reports, and that's kind of where this got brought up at. That's my understanding.
I think that's well said. Yeah, it was through his reorg of the organization that he created this position, which was already funded. Overall, I think, if I may, and I hope I'm not misstating, but through the creation of this new reorganization, it saved the county some $154,000.
Hey, Jim.
Go ahead, Quinn.
Just to kind of, I guess, further clarify, from what I understand, is the county administrator is looking at doing is kind of what Wayne has said is right now we have 15 or 18 department heads, and he's going to consolidate those department heads, the current ones, under the executive director, whatever the title is going to be. One of them will be planning and zoning, one of them's public works, and that group, one's administration, and then one's public safety.
Yeah, so Clue, this is something that the board approved, his reorganizational structure, and it was a net savings. Good work to bring about a needed change and then save the county handsomely.
Yeah, I wasn't here, so I didn't understand, because I know we ain't talked about it in the past, so I just wanted to get some clarification.
Yeah, it was definitely part of the new and okay. Next, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, I have a question. That are we saying that the public safety director not having input on what we created here? I mean, I think that's a job to take what we recommended and tweak it and put it into action. Just a question.
You broke up a little bit, Chad, but can you restate it?
Yeah, I don't understand what we're saying as far as the public safety director will not have any input in this. I would think that would be his job to help tweak and implement what we recommend.
Yeah. And I think it said there, we welcome the creation, since we didn't recommend it, we're welcoming their creation or the creation of the position, one that can provide leadership and oversight to the fire chief. And all we're saying is the public safety director's position was not included in our recommendation. Okay. Does that help, Chad? Okay, got it. Next paragraph. The recommended salary and benefits, each of the positions is only a suggestion, one based on an average comparison to other agencies with similar positions. If the BOCC determines the salary and benefits are too low, we recommend the BOCC identify the best competitive salary for each position. And so here's our org chart, which we did change. Clue, I don't know if you were here for this. We changed district to A shift, B shift, and C shift in the org chart here. That was the change that we made I think it was last time.
Yeah, yeah, you got A, B, and C shift. I mean, I only looked at that as like the west end would be like District 1, or the south end would be District 2, or the main station would be District 3, because you divide them up in the district. But yeah, you got A, B, and C shift. I understand that. That's fine.
Okay. Whoever said it, go ahead. Roger that. Thanks. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue. So scrolling down, I don't know if, well, Jacob's not here to do that. If you have a document in front of you, we've gone to the salary breakdown. Just give me a second.
Gary?
Yeah, Gary, go ahead.
On the salary breakdown, and I know we haven't discussed this before, but at some point, can we put some type of language into a benefit package for the volunteers itself? I know we have a little incentive program now. We've made recommendations where there's some changes that we gave to Chief Romay some time back. But is there some type of place where we can put language in that the volunteers would be taken care of for their services?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the volunteer section in a couple of minutes, and then we can go from there. Absolutely.
That's fine. Yes, sir.
So all I was going to do here.
Hang on 1 second. We're going to make a little bit of a...
Right here.
Yes, sir.
Share screen. Right. And then you can select it.
Oh, I'll just share my screen then.
Yeah, that way any changes that you make, and
good.
Where do you
You're
have
a good
it?
man.
Where do you have it open here? Right here?
No, it's this one, I think.
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So you just select it and share. Now they see yours.
Okay.
Okay, and you got them right over here.
All right.
But anything you do on here, your mouse, when you scroll up, scroll down.
Can you all see what Jacob's doing now as he's manipulating the document?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Jacob, you are the man.
Okay, and then when you want to stop share, you just hit
Press
that
stop
right
share.
up there.
Gotcha.
All righty.
All right. Thanks, Jacob. I'm going to tell you, folks, Jacob is The man making things happen for us with the Zoom. Okay, so let's go to, these are the salaries that we've identified that were in the document. I just kind of cut it out and changed it. But I did follow the guidance by taking out the staffing positions, and I've moved them, the 23 positions, and moved them down farther. So you'll see the deputy chief's position. All those figures come up to $817,219, and that does not include vehicles or other equipment necessary. Hiring. I need to change ESCUE. Well, I got to go back to this and change. This will still be EMS or rescue coordinator. How do we want to do that? Because
you can leave it EMS. I don't have a problem with that.
How about the group?
EMS.
Okay. All right. I made that change. All right. Once this is implemented, it is imperative for management of this department to provide constant and consistent leadership, direction, and control, as well as ensuring communication is moving up and down the chain of command. I know these are some of the thoughts that we had through the process, and I'm just summarizing this section. Your thoughts?
So again, a layman looking at this, and I'm a commissioner. So if I said back to you as a commissioner, so what does that paragraph really mean? What would you say to me?
Well, what I would say is that it's been demonstrated that in addition to a lack of staff, because of those vacancies, because of the need for people wearing multiple hats and not being able to get everything done, there has been a lack of ability to communicate up and down the chain of command. There hasn't been consistent leadership because of the vacancies, and the same said for direction and control. So do I need to say that then?
No, I think what's going to happen is somebody may ask you, well, what do you really mean by that? And what you just said is perfect.
All right, so I'll just write a little note here, add some clarity. All right, got it. Hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. Okay. So that ends this section. And it starts into the staffing. And I've left myself a note there, as you can see. I didn't identify, as you'll see as we go through this, identifying all these positions here and their need. Maybe I should do that. I used a couple of the primary positions in here that we really needed, but after we get done this section, maybe you all will agree that we need to talk about each of them. So let me just start. At this time, the department, and I'm looking, the chief's providing this to me, the number of vacancies in the following positions. I don't know how many firefighter, I don't know how many firefighter, EMT, paramedic, or what the titles are of those positions. I do know that we have one fire marshal position open and one fire investigator position open. And I'll get clarity from the chief on that. Go ahead.
Did you get those last night? Guy and I came up with the list.
No, sir.
All right, I'll check them.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Jim.
Go ahead, Chad.
I believe that you have some captain, battalion chief, and lieutenant positions that are open, as well as the firefighter, EMT, and paramedic.
Okay, let me add those here.
Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, and that's in the list that we put together that when Jim asked last night for the list.
What do you need? Go ahead, Jacob.
Change something here for you.
Hang on 1 second.
I don't want you to be sharing your full screen. Where's your mouse? this is the Word document. Where's your mouse? There you go. Okay, so now you're just sharing the Word document itself. That way when you pull up email.
I got you. All right, we're moving on. So battalion chief, then we had what, lieutenants?
Captain. Battalion chief, captain, and then lieutenant.
Okay, good call. Whatever that is, I'll get from the chief and we'll insert there. So we did talk about calls for service, and it was a comment that we had made. So I need your help here. We certainly do need to see the call load for the past 5 years. I would say 5 years is always a good glimpse on what's happening. But I believe, didn't we discuss this, that there has been an increase in calls for service? We felt it necessary at this time to implement a solution to ensure staff are placed in areas with a higher call load now, as well as beginning the process of projecting needs for the future. And this is where I get down below a little bit about Station 6 and Station 4. But should we insert call load data here and show the board what the call load data has been?
I would, but I would keep it simple and to the point. I wouldn't get too deep into it.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim, we can do that if that's what you want. We'll get it for you.
Yes, sir. And should we list the calls, or can we do it broken down by station? Should we get that far in the weeds, or just show the trend that we're seeing?
Just a trend, because it'd take quite a while. We don't get fire reports or any hard reports from the volunteers. So we just get stat or the incentive program numbers on a graph or a sheet. So to verify and to make sure we've got a good individual count would be difficult.
Okay. All right, so we'll insert that data there. So the next part of this is the committee recommends the following. Renew the push to hire all vacant positions, and I'm speaking of these vacancies that we have. Develop 2 additional fully staffed 24/7 stations to address the current and future needs of East Palatka and Interlaken. So East Palatka is Station 6 and Interlaken B4, correct? Okay.
All right.
In order to accomplish this, our recommendation to the BOCC is to hire an additional 23 firefighter EMTs. And this is where the 1.46088 figure came from. I took that from here, broke it out as requested, and I've placed it here. This would place 11 of the position at Station 6 and 12 at Station 4. The ability at this time to house staff at Station 4 is an issue that can be addressed in various ways by fire rescue leadership until a new station can be built. Please see the fire station section below for more on this topic. The funding request is an increase to the current department budget that must be carried forward each year. This is not a one-time expense. All right, so comments about these so far?
Jim, Gary.
Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got some questions on the Station 4 being fully manned on that. At what point, how is the volunteer service going to work with the manned station?
Can somebody help me there?
Hey, Jim, I would suggest that you put East Palatka and then put Central area, and then instead of Interlaken, put West in, because it may not be in Interlaken. It just depends on where and what, and just a suggestion.
Okay. So something along this, like that, Quinn? The future needs of East Palatka Central area and the west area of the county?
Chad.
Go ahead, Chad.
Gary, I would think that the fire chief or the operations chief, along with the volunteer person in the org chart, could be able to work that out. And if, some type of a solution, it might not even be in that station, but that's all. Those details are going to have to be worked out with staff and the volunteer chief.
I agree with that too.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I was just trying to get, I'm sorry, just trying to get a little clarification. We've been down this road before and things didn't work out too well. So I'm trying to make sure that we don't have a relapse of the episodes of the past. So we want to move forward with this without too much of the past issues.
Gary, it's Richard. I think as far as this committee is concerned, we're just pointing out that the citizens of Central and West need immediate assistance to the volunteers or supplement to the volunteers by paid staff. It's not for this committee to decide where they go or how they function within.
Correct. Yes, I agree. I agree with you, Richard.
Well said, Richard.
Yep, very well said. So I'm going to leave then what we have here. We just changed it to Central and West area of the county. I took out the reference to Station 4, but just said house staff in the West area. Is that okay with y'all? Okay.
Jim, can I go back just for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Clue?
On the staffing issues, and maybe Chief Romay can help me with this. It says, at the time we got some open positions of firefighter, EMTs, and paramedics. Aren't we hiring dual certified people? Aren't we getting away with hiring single cert people? Ain't that what the situation we have now is, as far as, having firefighter EMTs and firefighter paramedics? And shouldn't we list that?
We're, if there's a paramedic that's single cert, we would hire them. But EMTs, we're trying to certainly looking at EMT firefighters, unless they're, fixing to be a paramedic or whatever.
I would even start looking at making the paramedics dual certified too.
Oh, sure. We certainly are looking for those, but the applicants are just the paramedic single cert so far. For the most part, we've hired a couple, but for the most part, that's what's out there.
Okay.
Chad.
Go ahead, Chad.
I think, the part of this that we cannot talk about due to union negotiations is somehow has got to be pointed out in here that the retention of the folks that we have has to be addressed through pay increases and things like that somehow we can't talk about it, but it's very important in our presentation, I think.
I think something, and I agree with Chad, I think something to the effect, Jim, maybe we need to be competitive in the market, or we need to be competitive in the region to be able to attract and retain quality individuals.
And we can definitely, we just can't get in and say, hey, we're going to pay them this amount of money because that is negotiable. I mean, we can definitely say, hey, we need to retain firefighters monetarily, whether it be through raises, whether it be through incentive pays, and stuff like that. But I don't have a problem with that. We just can't get in and say, hey, this is what we're going to pay them, how we want to pay them, and do things of that nature. But they definitely can know that, hey, monetarily, we need to be competitive with the surrounding counties through raises, through salary and incentive pays that will keep people here and not them leave to go to the other surrounding counties and just to be a stepping stone.
All right, so I have, in order to be competitive in the region to attract and retain staff, the BOCC must consider or must offer, maybe not to use must, maybe the BOCC should take our recommendation or should adopt. Tell me what we want to write there.
Well, I would say something, just be, we need to be competitive with the surrounding counties, through salaries, through incentive pays, and whatever it takes to, keep people here, And it goes on further than that, it goes on like promotional opportunities and all that other stuff too. So, and a lot of it's got to do with just say being competitive, through salaries and incentive pays, to keep the people here.
All right. So I'll look here. It is our recommendation to the BOCC that this department must be competitive in the region to attract and retain staff and volunteers.
Jump, Chad, when you get a second.
Go, Chad.
Would it be acceptable to put in this recommendation that administration and union leadership make it a point to get a contract as soon as possible, because that is holding things up?
It ain't the union, I can promise you.
Yeah, I think that's again, what does the committee feel? I just think that we're entering into an area maybe we should remain neutral in, but that's not my decision.
I can tell you from a union standpoint, I done sent a couple of emails to get back to the negotiations, and I haven't got any dates yet. So, I mean, for me as a union president, I want to get this stuff behind us. We've been negotiating since 2016, and that's way too long, but I'm not going to get in, to the meat of it. But hey, I want to be done with the negotiations because a lot of that has an impact on what we're doing here today, so I'm ready to go.
Hey, Jim, this is John Chapman.
Go ahead, John Chapman.
As outside the union looking in, we were told not to discuss salaries or salary negotiations, anything of that nature. But obviously, this inability to come to a resolution with a signed contract has been an issue. And I do believe that's part of our function is to bring that to the board's attention. This has got to be resolved. It's just gone on way too long.
I think by just making a task force recommendation that staff and union work together to resolve the contract negotiations maybe would carry some weight to move that along, not to get into the details of it.
So how do you want me to write something here?
Hey, Jim, Gary.
Collaboratively to bring.
I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, Jim, I just sent you an email over with a draft of the proposal we made back in 2016, just for a retention part on the volunteers, just for your information. If you
okay, Gary, I just got it. Thank you.
To resolve the open contract.
All right. We also recommend that staff and the union work collaboratively to resolve the open union contract.
If you wanted to emphasize a little bit more, and again, I'm not trying, because I think the committee's got, I agree with you, Jim's got to agree on this, put it in. Is imperative too strong a word to put in here?
I like it.
Jim, are you comfortable with that or not?
I am. It is imperative that staff and the union work collaboratively to resolve this open union contract. Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. All right. So that finishes up. We still have some things to fulfill or add to the section, and I'll have it for you as soon as I get it. Capital improvements. So this is one of the things too I'm waiting on. We had addressed in our last meeting that we adopt and include the chief's proposal for this year's budget for stations and equipment, as well as utilize a 5-year capital improvement plan for trucks, fires and ambulance and equipment. So I will add that to this section. We talked about from a capital improvement, do we have to buy the 9th ambulance or do we have it already?
What was that question?
The 9th ambulance, do we have to buy it or is it here? Does it just need to go into operation?
Hey,
Chief?
Jim, and we've got a truck to put it in service, but we're definitely going to have. We haven't had any capital for the last 2 years. They've cut that, so we've got to get into the capital, particularly on the EMS side, because we run the wheels off of these trucks, and we've got to get back into replacing ambulances every year too.
Isn't them positions already in the budget and budgeted for to hire to replace them on the 9th ambulance, Chief?
Yes, those are the, what has been known as the floater position, but yes, those are budgeted positions. We've just got to attract paramedics to come or to fill them.
So do I have to clarify this to the board? Because I can see the board saying, all right, so what about a 9th ambulance? We already have it. We just need staffing. So how do I need to write this section?
Well, I think that goes back into retention, and drawing people in, like we talked about earlier, to do that.
So Chief, in order to get the 9th ambulance put into service, what do we need to do?
We actually need to be looking at a 10th ambulance, but the 9th is already budgeted and in there. So I don't know, other than, working on the recruiting and retention to get it. I'm reading what you're saying. Yeah. But to fill that one and then do a 10th, because if you look at what we've got right now, we've got 8 ambulances staffed 24 hours a day, and we've got over 800 square miles. So you've got 1 ambulance for every 100 square miles. And as I've told the board, you've got third world countries that probably have better coverage than that.
Well, this goes back to the how imperative it was that we put that in there about the contract, because everything that has to do with retention is put to that contract and can't be spelled out in here.
I got you. So you broke up a little bit. So are you okay with what I'm writing there here?
Oh, yes, sir. I was just saying, I think the conversation that's going on now is directly related to what we put in there about the union contract, because the retention and the hiring is all tied to the details of that.
Okay.
So, hey, Chief, I know we have that 9th rescue, and I know for sure we without a doubt, need that 10th rescue truck. So shouldn't we put something in there that, says, hey, we have a 9th rescue truck and we have a budget of positions, but we need that 10th rescue truck also included in this staffing, because I think we're going to need that at some point. So we might as well go ahead and tell them that we need it, because I can tell you down in the South End, and the calls from, the West End into the main is just overwhelming the service as it is with the 8 trucks. And even with that 9th truck that we had for that very limited time, it was overwhelming all of the nine trucks.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to talk about the 10th. I think the 9th truck is already budgeted. It just needs part of the recruiting and retention is, the open positions. But I think you're right. We need to talk about the 10th truck, needing the 10th truck. Because, technically we already have the 9th truck. It's just a matter of filling the positions if they apply. But we've got to put on a new truck. Because I think
Jim, may I ask the chief a couple of questions here?
Absolutely, Wayne.
Okay. Hey, so Quinn, so under capital improvements, we're talking about a 9th or 10th truck, which I get as a layperson we need. But if we're but you have more capital needs than just the 9th and 10th truck, correct? Or am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely correct. This year and what we sent to Jim, we talked to Jim last night about all of the capital requests for fire and rescue are in the neighborhood of, I'm adding them up here, about 10 or 12 million.
Okay.
And
So
then, just for historical purposes, we went back to the 2009, 2010 capital request. And that year it was 14,902,000 that I submitted. So we're still in the over 10, between 10 and 14 million each year in just capital. Now that does not include salaries or operational kind of things like fuel and supply, you know, those kind of things. What capital is anything $50,000 or more, or construction, you know, that kind of thing.
okay. So if again, layperson question here. So you talk under capital improvements, you talk about a 9th and possibly a 10th truck. So if I'm a commissioner, I go, okay, I'm going to give you your 9th and 10th truck, but then you don't address any of the other capital improvements. You see what I'm saying? Or just
I think we are here though, Wayne, if I may,
please help me.
This part right here, this highlighted part, the chief has got the other capital requests here. We just need to insert them here.
Never mind. Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. You're all right.
No, I just want to make sure that you saw that.
I got it.
Chief, I am correct, right?
Yes, and Wayne, in what we're submitting is my capital improvement program request, and it goes all the way back to 2015 to current, and then 2020 through 2025.
Yeah. I guess I should have read the highlighted red part that Jim put in there. Sorry, Jim.
No, it's okay. I believe me, there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. It's all good.
Quinn, how many times have they not approved this capital improvement plan?
We haven't bought fire trucks for 4 or 5 years now, and ambulances, it's been at least 2. And that's, I mean, we bought some ventilators, 2 of those, and a hearse tool, you know, that kind of thing, but nothing substantial.
Yeah, and this may be a point, Jim, where I don't know that you need to add it into the actual written part of the document, but you could add it to your presentation of, you know, call volume has doubled. I think 88 went online in 07 or 08. That was the last new ambulance we got. I believe then we were running like 8,000 calls a year, and now we're running 16, 17,000 calls a year. And we're starting to reap the benefits or the rewards of not doing this capital improvements. I mean, you've got trucks breaking down, you've got chief that can't, you know, give his people the equipment that he needs. I mean, we had a fire last night in town where there was a reported pump failure on the fire. I want to say it was Station 13's truck, but I was listening and there were 2 fires going on at the same time. But these are the things that are going to keep happening, and we're going to not be able to serve our citizens. We're not going to be able to safely staff our crews.
Gotcha. Okay. Well said. All right. Jim, so we have, go ahead.
Just what we're needing to replace right now are trucks that were bought in the late 80s, early 90s. So. On the fire side.
Jim, this is Richard.
Go ahead, Richard.
And I agree with everything's being said, but is this the proper place to, other than purchasing a 10th truck in the station kind of thing, is capital the place to start?
Well, I think what John was mentioning is more for the presentation to the BOCC, and then we add, you know, I think we need to say respectfully that there's been capital improvement requests that have been made that have never been fulfilled. And because of that, you know, we are seeing service issues on our apparatuses, our trucks. And, you know, this is our recommendation to use what you have, get these positions funded, and then let's look at a 10th truck. If you want to change that, please tell me what your thoughts are.
Is it in the 5-year plan to say we're going to replace the rescue trucks every other year? or are we going to replace the fire trucks after so many miles or so many hours that are on the trucks? Is that listed in that 5-year plan, how we can do that?
In the 5-year plan, the engines, fire trucks are by hours and the rescues by miles and or service issues. And every year I've got ambulances in there, and then what we typically would need to be doing just to catch up is buying 5 trucks, fire trucks a year, just to start to get caught up. You've got to maintain that every year. You can't, do 1 year, not a year, on and on.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
that's Richard again.
Go ahead, Richard.
My only point is, in your paragraph says the committee also recommends the BOC to implement in place the server budget 9th truck. That's not a capital issue. That's already.
I see what you're saying.
And other than purchasing a 10th truck and budgeting personnel, that's not a capital issue also.
Well, it would be a capital issue to buy the truck, correct?
Correct. The 10th truck would be the purchase of the 10th truck, and station or housing would be a capital improvement. But the 9th truck is just needs to be implemented and put online. It's already budgeted to do so.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I think Richard's saying. What
I moved it up here.
Talk about the 9th truck per se. We need to talk about the 10th truck, and the 9th truck's just filling the positions they're trying to recruit.
So the 10th truck will include not only the purchase of a truck, but then there'll be where to staff it or station it, correct?
Yes. Well, I think we pretty much know where we need it, but definitely location, station improvements, personnel, and
okay. All right. Okay. I got it. Richard, good point. Thank you. Let's look to NFPA 1720. This will be in the appendix. This will be attached to our report. So I'll start with the first paragraph. In order for there to be clear guidance and direction for the county on the operations of the department, one staffed at time by volunteers, the committee highly recommends to the BOCC to adopt many of the provisions listed in the National Fire Protection Association's NFPA Code 1720 titled Organization and Development of Fire Suppression Operations, Emergency Medical Operations, and Special Operations to the public by volunteer departments. This is a standard that can help organize the approach to minimum levels of service, calls for service, deployment capabilities, staffing levels, training, as well as provide a glimpse of the liabilities and abilities of the department managing the aforementioned areas. I kind of took this from the 1720 rating that I received via email or the document. Are y'all good with this?
That looks good.
Everybody else got a thumbs up? Okay. The next paragraph, NFPA 1720 provides clear guidance for administrations, organizations, operations, deployment, safety and health systems, and training for full-time staff and volunteers. It should be considered a comprehensive roadmap for the standardization and response for this department now and into the future. Are we good with that?
Yep.
Quinn, you're good with that? Oh, you're on the phone. I got you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next paragraph. The adoption of many of these protocols will also be necessary. Will be a necessary building block for this department to mandate all county and volunteer fire department stations in the county to obtain and maintain no greater an ISO rating than that of a 7. ISO ratings are discussed at length in the next section. Does that make sense? Okay. Other than the costs associated with the new organizational structure, additional staff, equipment, and stations, it is difficult at this time to identify other specific costs. It is expected that the BOCC should see, it is reasonable, should expect to see reasonable costs associated with the implementation of industry standard procedures, protocols, and required maintenance. It is, I need to come up with a different word there. It is, I'll come up with something. I'm sorry?
Expected?
Yeah, there you go. Well, I had expected. I need to use another word besides expected. That's fine. I'll get a new word for it. NFPA 1720 has been included with this report as Appendix 1. Are you good with the NFPA 1720?
Yes.
Should we stay in here that we're going to leave it up to staff to adopt, or just leave it like we have it written?
It's up to the Board of County Commissioners to adopt that, but yeah, I think it just as written.
Okay. Everybody else good with that? Seeing so, okay. All right, let's talk about ISO ratings. The Insurance Services Office, or commonly referred to as ISO, is an independent for-profit organization that scores fire departments on how they are doing against its organization's standards to determine property insurance costs. After analyzing the data it collects, the ISO assigns a public protection classification on a scale from 1 to 10. The higher the ISO fire protection class, with 1 being the best, the better the department. A lower ISO rating can lead to lower insurance premiums paid by residents and businesses. For Putnam County, the following stations have ISO ratings. I'm getting that from the chief. I'm going to put them in here what they are. The committee did unanimously vote to recommend the BOCC mandate all departments under their control to include volunteers to obtain an ISO rating of 7 or less countywide. As it was stated above, this is a very reasonable goal, one that can only be obtained with the adoption of our recommendations and a lot of hard work. So for the ISO section, what do y'all think?
Can I wordsmith it a little bit there, Jim?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. So adoption of the task force recommendations instead of our recommendations.
Hang on one second. Of the task force recommendations?
Yes, instead of our. That would just, again, I'm wordsmithing, so forgive me.
I got it.
Okay. And I would put a period after recommendations and leave out a lot of hard work.
Got you.
That's just my suggestion.
Oh, that's, what do y'all think? You good with that? Okay. All right. I'm going to insert the ISO ratings here. And I think that clearly states what we need here. A better ISO rating means lower insurance premiums paid by residents and businesses. We are hearing this at the county commission. We've been hearing it for a while. So, and we also know that some have ratings of 10. That's the highest rating, I guess, or the worst rating you can have. Okay. All right. Volunteer fire departments. Folks, we're getting there. We're doing good. The volunteer fire departments, or VFD, have been the backbone of fire services in this county for years. However, much like the department, many have fallen into disrepair and have lost a lot of their volunteers. This has made some of the stations ineffective and for some non-responsive. It is a recommendation of this committee for the BOCC to exercise your duty as stated in Florida Statute 633-025 and mandate all volunteer fire departments to fall under the chain of command of Putnam County Emergency Services, Putnam County Fire Rescue Service Leadership. What do you think about that first paragraph? Gary, Richard, Chad, anybody else?
Jim.
Nikki?
Remove and after some.
And
for some, non-responsive.
I got you.
On the second sentence, however, much like the department, are you speaking of the career department? And maybe that should be spelled out.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point because I've been using department throughout, but let me just put in here.
Chad, what you're saying that volunteer fire departments will fall under the paid guys, fire department, the paid firemen? Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm pretty sure that's what the committee talked about early on.
Yeah, under the fire chief, you keep the fire chief.
Yeah, which now under the public safety director in the fire.
Does that answer your question, Gary?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just seeing day by day all over again. I'm just trying to figure out how we can make all this work. It's going to take the right people in the right places to make all this work without a lot of friction.
There's no question. And you know, too, I say later, I think it's in this next paragraph. Let me just read it. It is our belief, one supported by many volunteer fire chiefs and members, that this option is long overdue and will give everyone in the volunteer fire department a clear direction on budget, training, logistics, chain of command, organization, and operations. Volunteer fire departments will still maintain their own individual internal structures and also period. We also recommend that each of the volunteer fire departments provide in writing, either through an MOU or similar document, the ability for the county to have unfettered access to any volunteer fire department building at any time for official business. Again, these are just comments we took directly from our last meeting. Your thoughts there?
Okay. Jim, the only thing I can see in how I'm not sure how we can word it is that we'll follow under the same organizational chart as the career guys. But we need to make sure that the chief and chief officers of the volunteer have the same respect as the paid guys and the same, playing on the same battlefield.
All right, so you're a fire chief. This is the layman in me. You're a fire chief. You respond to the scene as a volunteer fire chief. And let's just say that a battalion chief shows up on scene. It was my understanding that as long as you're doing everything that you should, unless you want to relinquish control, you keep that, correct?
Yes, yes, that's what my understanding is too. It's just always there's been a lot of conflict in the past, and we've got to work through that. I said we just got to be very cautious of the people that's put in these positions to make sure that this is actually going to work, or we will be without a volunteer force altogether.
Chad?
Go ahead, Chad.
I think the it has to be written in a way to address the ones that don't play well with others.
Well, I think we have that in the next paragraph.
Hey, Jim, it's John Chapman.
Go ahead, John Chapman.
The only thing, I think the county pretty much has access to most of our stations as it is. I would like somewhere that if apparatus or equipment is used by paid guys, that we at least have the courtesy of being notified. I've had my engine or my squad things just, I go to look, they're not there. So it'd be really kind of nice if someone would let us know these things.
Okay. I think that would come, I would hope, through the communication that we're trying to, the communication processes up and down the chain. I think that would come from there. I don't know. That's getting into the weeds here. to specifically just identify that. I think that would be a request respectfully that would go to the volunteer coordinator if it's an issue and they resolve it through the, the organization. You feel that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure, we all kind of work for the same team here, but it's still kind of nice to be told when your engine's going away and you don't know it,
I think once we get all, the players involved here in the positions, I think a lot of this stuff can be worked out, through good communications, because once you get the new public safety director in, the operations chief, the deputy chief, and the volunteer coordinator, I think all this is going to come into play, and I think it's all going to work out, for the good for everybody. So a lot of this miscommunications and stuff like this will just be, can be handled through that staff issues. And I think all this is going to be good for the county. So once we get it implemented, I think everything will be great.
So how about this? Communication and relationships between the department and the volunteer fire departments is of paramount importance. You good with that, John?
I'm actually, like I said, I'm not upset about it. If somebody needs my engine, I don't have any problem with them taking it. It's sitting there most of the time anyway. I don't have enough certified firefighters. But it's just, there should be something in writing, and not just there to the volunteers, it should be a complete fire department standard procedure. If you're using, station 10, be notified your engine has been used because 23s is broken down. Just a little blurb, an email, something. So yeah, communication is all we're looking for. I'm not looking for permission, just looking for communication.
I got you. I think we have that then. Okay.
Jim.
Nikki, go ahead.
Grammar police again here.
I love it. Thank you, ma'am.
In that second paragraph, it should be, it is our belief and once supported. Belief and once.
Is our belief and once supported? Okay.
It is our belief, comma, once supported. Right now it says believe and then it says one.
It is our belief, comma, and want, comma, once supported, correct?
It is our, comma, once supported by many.
Oh, okay, I got it. Thank you, Nikki. Quinn, was that you? No? Okay. Last paragraph. If a volunteer fire department does not come into compliance with these regulations or any others promulgated by the county, or the department, should I say, they no longer will be eligible for calls for service and will forfeit any budgeted county equipment and funding. Now, this came directly from our last meeting. So how do you think that needs to be, is that okay with you all? Okay.
Yeah, Gary, yes, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
We've really got to get some of these departments come into compliance.
I got you. Okay.
I'll get water sources and I might can come up some.
I'm sorry, Nikki.
I was just making a comment to Gary about not having the water source in Station 18, but that's beside the point.
Okay.
So I understand that, Nikki. We all have that problems with water source trying to come up, but I think we can maintain a 7 pretty well even without water source. It's just some of the areas are going to be really
so should we? Okay. Sorry, Gary. I will take some of Gary's language from the email he just sent me, and I'll insert it here talking about incentives. But should we list somewhere in this section the current staffing at each volunteer fire department? Should we show them what's happening? Or is that needed?
Do we have good numbers on not just people on rosters, but who are actually certified? That would be a question, I guess, maybe for Chief Romay, because I believe Gary brought it up a couple of meetings ago. We have lots of people on rosters that look good, but may not necessarily participate or even still be certified.
Yeah, because if they're not Fire 1 compliant, it does nothing for ISO. Support members do nothing for ISO.
Hey, Chief Romay, this is Nat. One person you could reach out to is Captain Guthrie, Jeff Guthrie in the South End. He, I know here recently, I say recently, within the last probably 6-7 months, he had sat down and worked up a whole spreadsheet on department rosters, who was fire certified, who wasn't, who was listed but not active in the last year, and so on. I'm speaking out of place with all the parameters on it, but he had done a great deal of work looking into that very item.
All right, so
hey, Jim, it's John again.
Go ahead.
Okay, as one of the stations that's probably going to be hit hard by this, I still think it's a good idea. We can put our head in the sand and say it's not happening, but we need to know if a station's going to lose its funding, and you know, mine might be one of them that's in danger of that, because as I said, I have very few certified firefighters. Dave's going to have to know how we're going to cover this, how we're going to provide this service. So I don't have any problem at all is getting out there who's doing what and where, and then we have to address the problem down the road is how do we fix it?
Thank you, John.
That's the problem, because if it's not being covered now, then what's going to change?
Exactly. If it wasn't for 23, we'd be in big trouble on the South End.
Correct, and the same at Station 19. Well, there's several stations, but.
So do we need to say anything else in this paragraph?
One comment, I don't know, Jim, if we made to go with it. Even with the stations, the problem they run in on ISO is that all your stations, if we're not within 5 miles of each other, the ISO is basically null and void anyway. And we have a lot of mobile homes that's going to be null and void once you're outside of that 5 mile radius from the stations. So at some point in the strategic plan, we need to start looking at implementing a lot more stations in the county just to cover the ISO. So just food for thought.
Okay.
Gary, on that same note, I think that's going to be in the future building of the county. We may not want to look at manning the current volunteer stations in between the volunteers to make that 5 miles realistic.
Correct.
All right, but that's something that we should be looking at down the road now. Okay, but not in this report, right?
Correct, not in this report.
Okay. All right, so can I get someone to please help me get the staffing from each volunteer fire department? Can someone volunteer to get that to me by Friday?
Jim, I really don't know that we need to put that in there because I think it's going to give them a false sense of security of how many people are on a roster. I mean, I don't know if Chief Romay's staff can pull out just firefighter ones out of their programs or not. But if we go in and say we've got 300 or 400 volunteers as a county board of commissioner, I'll be going, well, why do we need anything else? But these may be 90% support staff and 10% firefighters.
No, I agree. So if we could identify that, I guess my intent here was to show how the service is lacking, and then the need to support, Gary's request for incentives. I understand that. I'm just trying to find a way to bolster that. I leave it to your discussion.
I think the only people that could pull that sort of report would be Chief Romay, maybe Gene. I'm not sure who has access to that side of RMS to see actual rosters with good numbers.
Jim,
Chief, is that something you could do?
Hey, like Richard was saying, those numbers are so skewed. They have not been updated by most of the volunteer stations in quite some time. And there's 490 individuals on that list. And, but they're not responding. So
I got you.
It wouldn't be a good data point.
All right.
But out of that 490, how many are Fire 1 certified?
Hey, Joe, just curious.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I don't have that exact number also, but I can guarantee guarantee you almost 99.9% accuracy that on a daytime fire, there is no single station volunteer in Putnam County that can put 4 firemen on a call.
Oh, I 100% agree.
I can only get 2.
Full calls. And
I got 14 people.
Or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, you've got the same issue with putting people on calls.
All right, David. Thanks, Quinn.
I have 14 people and only 4 of them are fire certified. I'm doing good to get myself or one more to any fire. Getting volunteers, we're back to the same thing. It's very hard to do, and it's becoming a thing of the past, and the county is going to have to wake up eventually.
Okay. I'll leave it like it is, and you guys could look at it, and ladies can look at it, and we could work on it more.
Hey,
right.
Jim.
Go ahead, Quinn.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I've got to drop off. Gene's going to stay on here a minute to listen in if there's anything, you know, he can help with. But just so everybody knows, we're reporting 44 new cases, COVID cases today, and 3 deaths. And one of those deaths is a 9-year-old. So we just got released from the state surgeon general in the governor's office, you know, so it's coming out if it's not already out. But so I've got to go take care of a couple of things on that end.
Thanks, Quinn. Well, our thoughts and prayers certainly go out to the family and friends of those, to include a 9-year-old. Wow. That is the youngest person in the state of Florida to succumb to COVID-19. I think the record, I hate using that term, but the record was 11. So we're at 9. So certainly a sad day. Okay, Gene, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Good deal. Hey, it's good to see you. We're going to get into logistics and supply. The first paragraph, if there was ever a position that was needed in this department, it would be the logistics and supply coordinator. Far too many times throughout our discussions, we have heard accounts of waste and hoarding throughout the ranks of the paid and unpaid service. Stories of expensive bunker gear or turnout gear being found on department shelves that had expired. I need to add more here. I know there was more stories. I'm trying to set the pace here for the BOCC. Are there any other comments that we want to add here?
Hey, Jim. I don't know if other volunteer stations are having this problem, but I am. I'm having a hard time from guys that have moved or have left the area or just stopped coming, not returning their gear. And you want to talk about a waste of gear? I got 1 set of bunker gear, a couple of radios. That's expensive equipment, and I don't really have an avenue to get it back. Can we get some teeth in getting our equipment back? It's technically a felony.
Yeah, anything over $300 obviously is a felony, and yeah, I think that's where there are steps that can be taken to get our equipment back. The first thing is to accurately identify what equipment's been issued to that person, so we know what to get back from them. As you all know, without a good list, people just start accumulating things, and you wonder where things went. So I'll add not having equipment returned by volunteers. All right, what else? John Chapman, what else? I know you were big on this one.
Well, I think just the centralizing logistics and supply is going to end 99% of this stuff. I'm looking at what you've got there. We've got, let's see, being found expired. And it will just it's gonna prevent duplication of effort and wasted funds.
Okay. All right. If you all are good with that first paragraph, I'm going to go on to the next one. Based on firsthand accounts, the committee determined the best way to address this problem was through a several-step process. First, we need to hire a person who can take into account all the equipment assigned to stations, trucks, staff, etc. Second, this person would identify adequate storage and begin collecting gear to be placed in a central location. Third, a comprehensive inventory would be taken and an issue collection system identified. Finally, this person would issue, track, and collect all department equipment for paid and volunteer staff. It's a lot said in that paragraph, but your thoughts?
Jim, do we need
Highlight it.
Okay. Clue, go ahead.
I've got to break loose and go to a call, guys.
Hey, brother, be careful. Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
Jim, do we
Thank
need to
y'all.
put in that paragraph, instead of one person, maybe two people?
Clue, I think, I certainly think maybe we put in here, it is the concern of maybe this, if I may, it is the concern of this committee that one person may not be enough. We would evaluate an evaluation at a 1 year period, and if necessary, augment with a second person.
Hey, Jim, this is Wayne.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Okay, along that same line, just food for thought as y'all are talking about this. Why not refer to it as staffing? That we are you saying that we may not at this point be able to identify the total number of staff needed for this position?
No, we've only identified one, Wayne.
Yeah, I got it. But okay, I'm sorry, I got you now. I apologize. I understand now.
So, Clue, were you okay with that at the end?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Hey, Jim, this is Gene. I just want to, just for FYI, Joy Johnson, she does a lot of ordering for the volunteers. She's going to be retiring in December.
That's a good point. Okay.
That's going to be a bad day.
I would say is rather than may. Yeah. Okay. So you did it, Will. So it's not suggestive.
Maybe that's a presentation point that needs to come up to the board. The sooner that person could be hired, they could learn a lot from Joy before she leaves.
Okay, hang on one second.
Very talented, and I'll do all of that. I need to hire somebody now to learn how she does things.
David, if that was you, can you try it again?
Yes, she needs to be another employee hired now so they can learn what she knows. She's very useful, helps a whole lot. I don't know that anybody that's not in the service can do what she does.
Sound like his feedback's working.
Oh, I understood what he was saying. So we do know that someone is leaving. That's a volunteer that's leaving, correct? That's not a paid staff, Gene?
That's paid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's paid. She works here at the EOC.
Okay. All right. So
correct me if I'm wrong, Gene, but she handles all of the ordering, not just for the paid or not just for the volunteer, but also on the paid side as well, correct? Engine wise?
Yes, correct. That's correct.
So do we want to say anything here that due to the departure of an employee at the end of this year, it's paramount importance that this position be hired sooner rather than later?
Right, Joe?
Yes, I believe that should be a must.
Yeah, I agree with them. Just like what David was saying, we need to get somebody in here so they can work with her and learn what she does, because a lot of times they don't get anybody in here, and then the person gets in here and don't know exactly what the person was doing.
That's usually the county's ways. They wait till they retire or leave, and then they put somebody in, and then it takes a year or two to even figure out which direction to go in.
Yeah, Jim, and this position does one end of what we're talking about in logistics. Is the purchasing that doesn't do the loop closure of tracking and bringing it back into central warehousing.
Right. I mean, we're looking at multiple hats here then. That's correct. Well, we're still going to have to hire that person back, that position, but that position would then potentially work with or fall under this logistics and supply person, correct?
I would think so.
Okay. All right. last part of this, by implementing these steps at a minimum, all county equipment purchase would be done by the county and managed by the staff member. This will give the department greater ability to bid for equipment at a lower price, standardize equipment throughout the service, review equipment allocation to ensure best uses of resources while providing maintenance when required on equipment and inventory. We believe this new position will pay for itself within a short period of time. I knew that we talked about that. So what are your comments on the last part of this section?
It sounds
right on point.
Okay, got it. Hey, do we need to talk about vehicle maintenance here? I know that that's not what this position's responsible for, but you know, I just see that we haven't talked about vehicle maintenance.
Yeah, it should be called the lack of.
Okay.
The reason that we have vehicle issues.
David, your speaker's not working well, or your microphone.
Is this any better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's been no maintenance, hardly. You have to call and have them come change your tire or whatever. So I have a brand new, it's not brand new, it's 5 years old, but it needs an oil change. It needs several things, but you just only have one person over there working now. There should be 3 or 4 people over there. They don't even know how many vehicles they have, where they're at. It's a very poor program. When Bill Rulon was put in that job, within 3 months, I was at the county commissioner's office telling him that it was a very bad decision. He destroyed all of our evidence, all of our truck information and what day they were done on. And to this day, he still does not have a program set up like that. So he doesn't even know what he's got, and what he has or what he don't have. And I'll stop.
Yeah, there is no vehicle maintenance program in place. It's repair by breakdown and guess at what you're trying to do, and don't even have the right equipment to do the job with.
Would it be appropriate to suggest that the board do another task force for or some type of committee to look into the maintenance system for fire and EMS and rescue vehicles?
If they like to save, my opinion is if they'd like to save a lot of money, it would be recommended that, because there's a lot of money being wasted now through the current system.
I don't know if y'all remember or not, but maybe a year or two ago, Greg Brown did an investigation study on the vehicle maintenance that was done over there. And there is a report that's out on that as far as what investigation that he done. I would suggest maybe the committee get a copy of that report, and I think Quinn's got a copy of that report, and share it with the committee and find out what's going on and what he found out during that investigation.
Right, so
my understanding, Alan destroyed that report.
Who did?
Let's hope not. It's a public document. So,
yeah.
So how about we say here, it is our strong recommendation that the board immediately implement a robust or implement a fleet maintenance program to service, track all needs and issues of trucks and apparatuses. What do you think?
Jim, we may want to include equipment to that. I know right now, like you have expensive equipment that is only being serviced just because we're keeping up with it. You know, for example, Hamatro is our extrication equipment. It gets scheduled every year just by us at the fire station because we know that it needs to be done. There is no set parameter that says it will be certified and maintained every year.
Okay.
Jim, it's Richard.
Go ahead, Richard.
Just a thought. We're putting on this new public safety director, which county that has nothing to do with this committee. But would it be best that he takes over control of public service fleet and it falls under his control, not a separate manager that might be worried about other equipment and not so much the emergency services fleet?
Well, I think that's certainly a recommendation. I can tell you, in places that I've looked at and worked at, if I can just throw this to you, is that it's always worked well to have like a central location, and you had qualified mechanics. That was your one stop to go for cars, trucks, fire trucks, unless they needed to go to special service locations. I still think that's the best way for that to be handled. Instead of separating that fleet process out, but maybe identifying specific staff that's responsible for that may be the choice.
Yeah. Hey, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Hey, there's Wayne here. Hey, Nat. Nat, are you still on?
Yes, sir, I'm on.
Hey, so refresh this old man's memory. So didn't we many years ago set up a separate maintenance vehicle just for fire and rescue trucks that were roving around to the different stations to do periodic maintenance, or am I wrong about that?
No, we did. And I don't know how long that program lasted, but we used to have mobile oil changes and stuff like that done years ago. That was 13, 14 years ago, probably.
Yeah. And Jim, I thought I was right. And Nat so we wrote a grant and got that money allocated for that vehicle. So, and I think it worked well then, but I understand what you're saying too, Jim, about a centralized location. But I think we took a lot of pressure off them by doing the routine maintenance at the stations. But that was just my memory. But thanks, Nate.
So I've added to this paragraph, in addition to this position, as we mentioned above, evidence gleaned during our discussions have identified a non-existent fleet maintenance program for trucks and apparatuses. Lack of oil changes and general repair continue to be a major concern. The task force does strongly recommend that the BOCC implement a functional fleet maintenance program, one that can track, plan, and service all county-owned and maintained vehicles. So how do we want to add what you just said there?
I don't know if we want to add it. I just was trying to refresh my memory on what used to work, and doesn't mean it worked today. But I think whoever suggested, again, looking from a management point of view, whoever suggested that the new public safety director be kind of over that, I think that is so important to everything, the mission of the fire and rescue service, that would need to be one of his or her priorities.
I believe that the county fire rescue service is big enough now with all the amount of vehicles that it should be a central, a fire rescue mechanic shop separate from other county mechanics.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to go along with that, I mean, I know we have a mechanic, Matt Simpson, who's an EVT, emergency vehicle technician, which is a pretty substantial certification to get, and it qualifies him to work on fire trucks and rescues and whatever the parameters of it is. But I know there's plenty of times where he's not fixing a fire truck or an ambulance and needs to get on the road because there's a road grader that's damaged, some that he has to go and handle that on. So not to sling mud at Bill Roulon or anything that's going on over there. I know that there's a staffing issue as well. They're facing the same crisis we are. There's not enough men with wrenches in their hands. He's having to do 6 or 7 different jobs. So irregardless of who takes over the system and all that, the lot itself, they need help just like we do. They need mechanics and they need guidance and leadership and whatever. And that puts the best people in the best positions to fulfill their jobs. Matt Simpson's a phenomenal mechanic, and he's always done well with all of our stuff. I just know that he doesn't get to put his full attention onto the vehicles due to the way the staffing is over there.
And thanks, Nate. And Jim, just to educate you back many years ago, that's how we were able actually to get the grant, by getting someone certified to work on those fire trucks, then we were able to get the grant to get the equipment. I'm sure Quinn would remember that. Again, I'm probably getting in too much into the weeds here, but just trying to give you a flavor for what used to work.
Hey guys, I've had to do some maintenance on my church fleet, the vehicles we use, and it's inconvenient, just like it's inconvenient for us to take an apparatus up to the county. There are some independent mechanics go around, do the basic stuff. They'll do the oil changes, they'll check the batteries, they do stuff like that. Is that an option that we can even examine since it's an emergency vehicle?
John, Gary, can you hear me? John.
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, yeah, that type maintenance is not repair. You don't have to be certified. Like I've got the certifications also, but you don't have to be certified for emergency vehicle to do routine maintenance. Only certification comes on a fire truck is when you're working on the actual driveline and pumping part of it.
It would just seem to me that if we could find an independent rather than going through county, we can find a contractor to come around and do the basic maintenance, and that'll get us caught back up for a PM without taking the truck out of service while we haul it up to the county lot and it sits there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, if we do entertain that idea and they go down that road, there needs to be some type of other form that the private person that's doing routine maintenance does the inspection too to see if there's any other thing. They need to be familiar with emergency equipment to make sure that they see a problem that can be noted that it can go into the repair shop.
Well, I think once we get this logistics person put into place here, I think a lot of these hey, I'm the first one that says, our trucks are lacking on maintenance and care overall. It's obvious. I mean, I got, pictures where oil changes ain't been done for 100-something thousand miles, 40,000, 40,000 miles and stuff like that. But hopefully with this logistics person, we can get this, all the equipment where it needs to be. It can be logged in, the mileage, the correct oil changes, the pumps and everything fixed on this, tires rotated and all that. So, I mean, that's just my thought.
What was the man's name that ran it before Bill coming along? He retired. He's
Gary.
Gary Armstrong. Gary Armstrong.
So yeah, I mean, it had basic computer. On the left side, it had every vehicle, and then it had the numbers. And who did not get a call once a month from him? Once a month, he called you and told you that such and such vehicle is due for this or that. Do you want me to pick it up or can you bring it to me? That system worked fairly well until it got thrown into the trash.
All right. So respectfully, I don't know if we're getting in the weeds too much here in our discussion. I just want to keep us on task to get to get what we need written here, because we are getting long in the day. So,
Jim.
Yes, sir.
Can you check with Quinn and see if he's got that report that was done by Greg Brown on that, please?
I will. I'll email him right now.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Gene, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. He stepped out, but
Can you make that and then ask Quinn to please respond to me on that?
Yes, sir. I also got a note written for it.
You're a good man. All right, Clue, that takes care of that, right?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. I don't mean to be pushing us, but I just want to make sure we stay on track. Is there anything else that we need to add to this portion? We may be adding information from Quinn here, correct? Is that correct? We may add something from Quinn here. Is that what you all are saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else that we need to put in here for logistics, supply, and maintenance? General repair of all equipment.
we end up paying for the services that we do get from there. I don't know why we couldn't get an outside company to, I've asked for it for a couple of years, but it's not allowed, even by certified people. But they'll come to you on the side of the road and they basically can change your transmission. I mean, it's several big businesses around. And I'm just stuck on this because it's been a thorn in my butt for 7 years at least.
Oh, I agree. So we certainly need to, it needs to be addressed. It can no longer be just one of those issues that lingers. I agree. Okay. If we're good for logistics, supply, and maintenance, I'd like to move on to education, recruitment, and retention. I'll get to this highlighted portion in a second, but this first paragraph, from our research and discussions, it was obvious that this department requires a robust and successful education, recruitment, and retention program. Based on the lack of resources currently in the department, the committee did recommend in the organizational chart above for the creation of a recruitment retention coordinator. Is our thought and suggestion to the BOCC to utilize this person for all volunteer and full-time efforts by collaboratively working with the fire college, our local college and high schools on recruiting homegrown employees. It's also recommended that there be an established vocational component we can use as a feeder program for our volunteer and paid ranks. This effort must be jointly undertaken with the Palatka Fire Department. Your thoughts on this first paragraph?
Well said.
Okay, sir. Thank you. No other comments? Moving on. The committee also recommends a campaign to keep open positions advertised, provide incentives to all keep positions advertised, provide incentives to, I gotta get that all out of there, to recruit new staff and volunteers, as well as offer training to volunteers, in firefighter 1 and 2. Again, by doing this, we are creating a pool of applicants ready to step up when the vacancies arise. We also believe that it is possible to recruit from outside Putnam County. We also believe that if at all possible, to recruit from outside Putnam County, the BOCC should evaluate and hopefully institute an incentive package to be used to attract new full-time paid staff. This should include the creation of a paid internship program. What do you think? Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
We also believe that if at all possible to recruit from outside, that wording tends to me to believe that we're looking for outside instead of internal.
Okay, so in addition,
say that again, Gary.
I see what he's saying. He's just concerned it's worded.
We're talking about where we also believe that if all possible to recruit from outside of Putnam County. I'm just saying, I think to me, I'm reading it as if it's at all possible we need to recruit from other counties instead of Putnam County.
You could put it may be necessary.
All right, so in addition to looking at local talent, we also believe that if we are going to be successful in recruiting from outside Putnam County, the BOCC should evaluate and implement or institute an incentive package to be used to attract new full-time and paid staff. Is that better?
Yes, that would be better.
Okay.
Then also on the training that's offered for the volunteers and firefighter 1, firefighter 2s, I think it should be all trainings because there's fire officers positions and training and all kind of other training that should be available to the volunteers too if they want to proceed up the ladder to go on into the career side. Did that make sense? I think that in other words, I think that all training should be offered to the volunteer as well as career.
Yeah, that it does require, if we're trying to home grow our own employees here, we do require that they have firefighter and EMT. We may look at adding EMT to that list just as a basic step in the door. And obviously at later time, we may look at adding other things, but.
All right, so I just changed that. So it's going to read, the committee also recommends a campaign to keep open positions advertised, provide incentives to recruit new staff and volunteers, as well as offer training to volunteers in firefighter 1 and 2, as well as be eligible to attend other training classes approved by the county. Does that capture it?
We talked about it before with Quinn. I think it's already noted in there somewhere, but I may be wrong.
David, can you say that one more time?
I thought we talked about it. I brought it up. Who's going to do the training? And he come out and tell me that the person that they're putting in that seat will be doing lots of training with paid people and volunteers. I believe that was last meeting.
Yeah, because that's this position right here, the training section coordinator.
Yeah. Because my question was who's going to do it for us, and that was the answer that I got last week. And I'm good with that.
Okay. Somebody else said something?
I was verifying what he said. He even mentioned that it might even be daily, because that person would be so busy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If you all are okay with this at this time, we also talked about the need to create a paid internship program. Can we elaborate on that? Do we want to keep it? Your thoughts?
I would leave it in there, but that's not something we're going to emphasize right now. It's an immediate need, correct? Or am I wrong?
Maybe to be visited at a later time.
I'm sorry, Nikki, what'd you say?
Maybe that for that internship program, leave it in there, but maybe to be visited at a later time.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, Jim, what you're doing is just trying to give them food for thought on the scope of what we looked at.
Yes, sir.
And that's then,
yeah.
You're right on target then.
This was a suggestion that was made last week by staff or by committee members, right?
Okay.
All right. And then finally, although it is in the works, we recommend the BOCC expedite the implementation of an employee award and appreciation program. It's our understanding that this program this is a program already included in the department budget. Good with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, interfacility transfers. The committee voted to recommend the BOCC no longer provide interfacility transfer services from Putnam Community Medical Center to outside Putnam County medical facilities. We understand this may be an initial loss of revenue. However, with the uncertainty of reimbursement and the drain it places on staff, as well as the wear and tear on equipment, this committee knows the BOCC and its fire rescue service can use this opportunity to provide an enhanced level of service. The hospital will be free to contract with an outside provider for the service as it chooses.
And I think in your narrative, Jim, when you're breaking the presentation, that
yes,
kind of anecdotal information, this is actually going on now and it's working.
Good point.
So, yeah.
And I can tell you it is working, and it's taken a lot of stress and increased the morale issue of the department, and it's allowed us to run our 911 calls. And even without these interfacility transfers, this put our department to a strain, you know, with all of our trucks and all that. But I would also add in there that what we talked about, Jim, not only from the Putnam Community Medical Center, but also from the nursing homes too.
But I thought Tina mentioned that there was going to be the need for some of that.
We'll do the 911 calls, but the regular transfers, like from the nursing homes to the hospital and back to there, we don't need to do them. Because there's a lot of stuff that, you know, that comes from nursing homes that are interfacilities that we shouldn't be doing.
All right, so since we didn't vote on that portion,
I thought we did.
Well, I don't remember that we did. I thought it was just, if I look back at that motion, it was from Putnam Community Medical Center, because I thought we were going to still look at the need to transfer from other facilities under emergency circumstances.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure nursing homes were left in there because they're guaranteed pays.
Yeah, I think, okay, maybe that's right, Chad. Okay. All right. So I got to, so I will add in here the budget amount that the county is currently using at this point, so they can see it as being a loss.
Well, okay. Can I jump in on this?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, you gotta remember I'm a car guy. Okay, so why do we want to throw the budget in there? Why do we want to put it there? Why do we want to put it in their face that this is something for the? I mean, we said it in the verbiage. It's, you know, I don't know. I just don't know if we need to put the budget there showing that it's a loss. I mean, we told them what our recommendation is and why we want to do it. And we said in there, it's going to be a loss. Why do we want to throw the number there so they can look at it? I don't know. Just,
no,
just my opinion.
You all agree? We'll just take that out. It's going to be explanatory. If we're not doing it anymore, that's a loss of budget for them.
Yeah.
And by watching the budget meeting, Jim, they know it, and they've already asked if that was taken out of the current proposed budget. So they're aware of that.
All right. All right. That'll finish up interfacility transfers. Our last one, Standing Fire Rescue Committee. I took the verbiage from up top, but I'll read it again. This committee recommends the BOCC retain the standing committee. I'm sorry, the standing task force committee to evaluate the current and future needs. It's just a cut and paste from what we had above. The only thing I added is that this committee should meet at least quarterly. Are y'all good with that? Thumbs up, okay. All right, so conclusions. First paragraph, it's abundantly clear to each member of this committee that without immediate action, this broken department will continue to deteriorate and hemorrhage qualified, dedicated employees. As mentioned above, we cannot stress the urgency of adopting recommendations and getting them implemented and operational as soon as possible. Please consider there is a hiring process, training, and time period of becoming acclimated for any new employee that must be taken into account when looking at the current and future staffing needs. And I didn't say that very well here, but what I want them to understand is they may pass this immediately, but there's still a hiring process. There's still a field training program for many, you know, so it's going to take time. It's just not going to happen immediately. You want me just to rewrite that that sentence there or add a little more clarity to it?
Yeah, I think you're right on base.
Okay.
Jim, this way y'all doing that. Oh, I got a question. This is Gary.
Go ahead, Gary.
I know we're going through all of this, but do we need to kind of, I don't know, give them the option of a list or maybe a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 list of what we talked about as far as priority and the steps that they need to really go with at once? I don't think that they are actually going to adopt and implement this whole program in one step. That's just my opinion because of the expense involved.
Yeah. Hey, Gary, can I play? I'm going to play devil's advocate with you because I've thought about what you just said. Who was that? Was that Gary?
It was Gary.
Okay. So, Gary, I'm going to play devil's advocate, even though I've thought about just what you said. All right. So here's the other side of that. So if we give them, excuse my words, the only word, an out of our top priority items, and, being in management for a number of years, I'm going to take the top priority items and probably forget about the other stuff.
I got you. Yes, sir. Now, that makes sense. I was just trying to, I guess we'll make this either an all or none. I'm just trying to figure out if we had any other avenues.
Well, I think where this is headed, if I could just, I said, what I see happening with this when they get it, they're going to have to go into a workshop on this, obviously. And I think Jim will probably be involved in that, as may others may be. But what will eventually happen is something like the Better Place plan has got to come up to fund this. And it's got to be a new, innovative way to fund this thing. And then that's the way I see it happening down the road.
Okay, sounds good, Wayne. I was just thinking out loud there.
Yeah, I just don't want to give, I just got to say, I don't want to give them an out of, I'm going to give you one, here's my top three, and now, okay, then I gave you something and go away. And I don't mean that the way it sounded, but I kind of did.
You're back. It's back. Yes.
And Wayne, you are correct. I think the Better Place plan is it when it was put out there, when you recruited everybody, to say this is going to help fund the fire rescue, the sheriff's office, and capital improvements, hiring, and all that stuff. So I think that is one avenue that needs to be looked at as far as funding some of this.
Yeah.
And this just gets us caught up. This has nothing really to do with what the future holds, other than maybe we have a more stable platform moving forward.
Correct.
All right. So we're going to leave it like it is here. Just clarify that. Okay.
Yes.
New paragraph. This task force is not a new concept or study. I'm sorry. This task force is not a concept or study commissioned by the BOCC. No, that doesn't make sense. All right, so this task force is not a new concept or study, as others have been commissioned by the BOCC to evaluate many of the same issues we are addressing today. It cannot be said any clearer through earlier reports as well as through this report that swift, corrective, and decisive action needs to take place now. These recommendations will support this department by providing a basic platform for growth and help it become the flagship to carry this county into the future. Next paragraph. And I've had a little hard time with this one. So our question to the BOCC is really a simple one. This is that analogy about the trash. I was trying to make it into a question for them to ask themselves and then answer. If you're a property owner in Putnam County, you're paying an additional amount to have your garbage collected. Although extremely important, would you not want some type of fee to adequately help fund this critically important service? It's time to stop kicking this issue down the road and implement these changes to begin the needed transformation to the department. We all deserve better.
Actually, Jim, you're paying more to have your garbage collected than you are in public safety fees.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me how I should write that.
Well, okay. I'm going to learn one day to keep my mouth shut. I just don't know when that's going to be. All right. So, okay, let me just throw this out at you. So I like paragraph 1 and 2. I think point 3, the paragraph you just went over, Jim,
yes, sir,
would be better said by you rather than in written form. And I may not be right on this. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. Because you're kind of lecturing them in that paragraph.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
That's just, I agree that we should say about the garbage. I really like that analogy, which is right. But I'm just trying to think of them sitting and reading this. It just seems like a lecture that may be said in your verbal comments. That's just my opinion.
Okay, I got you. Other thoughts?
I agree with that.
I don't disagree with Wayne at all. I definitely think there needs to be think there needs to be a point in your talk in which you relay the stark contrast between payment on garbage and payment on fire. Maybe not
Absolutely.
just I mean, there's a definite disconnect between what people believe they pay for garbage and fire than what actually happens, I believe. Now, I don't know if that makes sense in saying that. I was floored when I went home and looked at mine and went, holy cow, I pay this much for that, and I pay 3 times that for garbage. It's something you see every year in your statement, but it doesn't really weigh into account until all this other information is presented on the drastic needs that this department has.
I got you.
I think the needs will just kind of help drive home that point that, you know, there is a major difference in payment.
Yeah, Nate's right on target with those comments.
Got it. All right, I'll put them over there as my comments for the presentation. Good call. The final paragraph. This committee stands ready to assist the BOCC in answering any of your questions and assist at a workshop or special meeting the BOCC finds necessary. Maybe just a period here and then strike that out. We again thank each of the commissioners and staff who have had the wherewithal to push for the creation of this Fire Rescue Task Force Committee and entertain our findings. What do you think about that?
Jim.
Go ahead, Nikki.
That first sentence where you put that period, you may add to the end of that in a special workshop or a special meeting, assist at a workshop or special meeting concerning implementation or something to that effect. So they'll know what the workshop or the special meeting would be for.
I got you.
Hey, Jim, overall question. I know when I brought up task force, were we a task force or a committee or both?
A committee, but
okay. You know, so then should we pull out the word task force that we used through this or not? That's a question.
We'll just leave it as committee. Maybe task force is good in other places too.
Okay.
All right. All right, that brings us to the end. I assume based on a couple of the inserts that we're going to have, we'll probably go to maybe 15 pages. And then the appendix will probably push us, well, it's quite long, so it may push us to 25 pages or so. I still think that's a very reasonable report. It's not too long. So what do y'all think overall? You good?
Yeah, good work, Jim. I mean, I'm glad you just done a remarkable job.
Well, thank you,
getting
sir.
all our thoughts together on this.
Well, it's you all putting it together for us. So thank you to that. I do appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Jim. Very, very good.
Oh, you're welcome. Absolutely. It's an all team effort. So I still need something from John Chapman, Gary Warren, David Birch, Quinn Romay. I did get something from Wayne, and I think Clue, you sent me something already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't send you. I just sent you the logo.
All right. So Clue, if I can get something from you to put in here.
Yep. Yeah, I'll send
and then Gary, if you can get me the logo or logos, whatever we can put in there. I do have the one for the union to put in here. I think that's a great idea. And I think that's it.
Jim, did we get any further word on how the presentation will be going?
No, you know what? And that's on me. I need to follow up on that. And I just haven't. I don't think it's going to be an issue. And so in the next email for our next meeting, I'll let you know where we're going to meet. I'm pretty confident we'll have the ability to maybe even meet here in planning and development in a big conference room and just mask up. But I'll get that solidified today.
Oh, we're going to meet when we present this, we're going to present this to the board in the boardroom at the county commissioner?
No, sir. We'll probably be in a conference room somewhere. Or I'll put us somewhere that we could appropriately socially distance and wear our masks. I'll find something.
Well, is it going to be open to the public though, Jim?
No, sir. Now, everybody else is going to Zoom in. We would just Zoom in together as one group.
Can we
Okay.
fit comfortably inside the boardroom, spread out, and maintain the social distancing there?
We may, but I think the issue is then maybe from an optical standpoint that, well, if we can be there, maybe the general public can be there. And so I'm just a little concerned with that.
Yeah. I'm kind of like with my buddy there that just spoke up. I really want to physically be there if all possible. And I guess everybody can say that for every meeting going on, but I just.
Yeah. And again, the board's not going to be sitting on the dais. They're going to be remotely coming in. So this is a Zoom meeting.
I got you. Okay. So they won't physically be there.
No, sir.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Nope.
Okay.
All right.
Ask Jim if they would be willing to do that.
I'm sorry?
Has that been asked if the board would be willing to do that?
I can tell you the board has taken action that probably through August sometime, we're going to be on Zoom meetings. We're up until August. I don't remember the date that the board agreed to, but they did take action and voted to do Zoom meetings. So I don't know if that would be an appropriate suggestion to ask just for this.
Yeah. Well, if they're going to Zoom, then I guess we could all Zoom in for it. I don't see the need.
I do offer us the opportunity for getting together as one group in a room, and that if we need to speak, we can, and be able to answer any questions that they may have. I think it shows a unified approach.
I got you. I'm with you.
All right. So let me just see from an email standpoint. I got an email from a Matthew Moriarty. Gary is asking for the email that you sent me. So I will send it to him. And let's see if anybody else.
You're going to send out to everybody on the committee, Jim?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then I'll send it to this gentleman. All right, I've got no other. Let me just make sure I look at my notes to see if I have any other comments. I don't see any. Does anybody else have any other comments to make at this time?
I don't.
Okay. So here's my commitment to you all. I will put together the rest of this report, and hopefully I'll send it to you by Friday. If not, you'll get it over the weekend. Please review it, make any changes that you have. And then on Monday at 9 o'clock, we'll Zoom again. I'll send out the minutes from this meeting, as well as an agenda for our last and final meeting on Monday at 9. So are there any questions that we need to address at this point? Hearing and seeing no others, if I can have a motion to adjourn the meeting and see everybody on the next. Who's made the first? Who, I'm sorry?
If nobody has.
Who is that?
David.
Okay, David. Who's seconding?
Yeah.
Chad? All right, a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. And again, please keep the loved ones and the family of those that have died of COVID in your thoughts and prayers today. A very tragic day for this county. Other than that, I'll see everybody on Monday. Thanks again for all your support and effort. Meeting is adjourned at 12:17 p.m. See y'all.